Would you like to network with white positive people in your area to rid your community of anti-whiteism, to help ensure the well-being of Western kind? If so, please consider joining or creating a Go Free Club. Go Free or Going Free clubs are dedicated to teaching the practice of going free of the anti-white meme pathogens preventing Western kind from protecting themselves from anti-whiteism. By forming clubs, white positive members of a community can help each other to overcome the anti-white propaganda they have been infected with by utilizing the teachings of Jason Kuna's book, Go Free. Go Free clubs have been forming throughout Western civilization since October 2021. If you are interested in joining a club, simply reach out to the founder by email, and they will begin the vetting process to ensure you are white positive and willing to positively contribute to the club. You do not need to provide any identifying information to begin the vetting process, but you will need to meet with a club representative in person before joining an in-person meeting. In addition to joining an existing club, please consider forming your own if you live in an area currently lacking a club. Current clubs may be dedicated to entire countries or states, but as membership grows, clubs can begin to form at the city and town level. Mr. V, the founder of the first Go Free Club, is serving as the leader of the other Go Free Club founders. He will walk you through the process of forming your own club. Please reach out to him at gofreeclub@protonmail.com. Please help us to ensure the well-being of Western kind and Western civilization. Thank you.
Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
A non-white white supremacist is as oxymoronic as honest Democrat. He's not a white supremacist. He's not a white supremacist. He shot up a mall populated predominantly by white people when there are whole communities in Texas that are totally non-white that he could have attacked, but he didn't, which if he was a neo-Nazi, you'd expect that. So it makes no sense that a white supremacist would try to murder white people, but it does make sense that an anti-white terrorist would. So could the media be lying, perhaps, to perpetuate this anti-white narrative, which, as we know, they're wont to do, and then ban firearms, which is a denial of the right to self-defense, because in our era, the tool for self-defense is a firearm. So if you take away the tool required for self-defense, you can't have self-defense. And the reality...
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off just very quickly. I just want to... Most of the victims were white. That's what I find incredible. I mean, look, I don't care. To me, people are people. Some are good, some are bad. It, goes, all races, everybody. But they're the ones pushing white supremacy, neo-Nazism. And you're right. So a non-white supremacist shot up a predominantly white shopping mall, or people who attended are primarily white, and most of the victims are white. What? Anyway, Mike, do you think people are going to see through this, that this is such an obvious lie?
Yeah. On its face, it's completely ridiculous. You don't even have to read the details. And I think that's why this is going to become a hush crime very shortly. I mean, they're going to bury it because it's so ridiculous. It's so obvious what they're trying to do. Just pushing this anti-white narrative, trying to get the right to self-defense banned. And I just wanted to say real quickly, why are there mass shootings? There weren't mass shootings in America generations ago. And it was because America was far more Western. But as Western norms and expectations of behavior like civility and morality are being increasingly white erased, Americans and...
Well, the saying, you invite the third world, you become the third world. And that's what you're watching. You're seeing in front of our eyes the third worldization of America. Welcome to the United States of Venezuela, baby. I need more time. I need more time.
You mistreated me. I tried to be fair, but you don't believe in doing your share. But I've learned my lesson, and now I can see the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away. Your movies don't thrill me like they used to do. Your words only chill me, I'm glad that we're through. My heart was yearning, but now I can see the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away. You fooled me a while. You thought you were wise. You even believed I fell for your lies, but the tricks turned on you. Now gladly I say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away. Your movies don't thrill me like they used to do. Your words only chill me, I'm glad that we're through. My heart was once yearning, but now I can say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away, is dying away.
JK, really?
I've seen cuts without the glory. I've heard people spread the virus story. I felt the pain of the infectious wound. I felt the pain of my ancestors too. We need you to return. We're trying to relearn your honor, hope I earn. Feast your eyes, watch our Prometheus rise. Feast your eyes, watch our Prometheus rise. I've tasted apples given to me. I've seen ravens appear on trees. I felt your presence walking with me. Reveal yourself to my people, please. We need you to return. We're trying to relearn your honor, hope I earn. watch our Prometheus rise. Feast your eyes, watch our Prometheus rise. If I have to do a King Lason, then I'll do it. Reveal it cause I feel it, no conceal it, I will prove it. Every single one of us that go free fights the battle. Warriors of the West, we wear it best, we're not your cattle.
And I will never switch, core things whining like a brooch, begging that we show them mercy, but our glory now exists. And has a message for our people, we've been too nice for too long. So it's time to find ourselves and write a new life, a new song, we need you.
Return, we're trying to relearn your honor, hope I earn. Feast your eyes, watch our Prometheus rise.
Some folks call me a rambling man. I do a lot of thumbing and kicking cans, and wouldn't do an ounce of good to call my name. Cause daddy's name wasn't Willie Woodrow, and I wasn't born and raised in no ghetto. Just a white man looking for a place to do my thing. Well, I'm out to find me a wealthy woman in a line of work that won't take no diploma, and I ain't got much to lose and life to gain. Some call me a good time fella. I ain't black and I ain't yellow. I'm a white man looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they're giving, cause I'm proud and white and I got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. I'm a white man looking for a place to do my thing. Now hump and get it. Yeah, I'm a small town man, I've been around a little. I like guitars and I like a fiddle, and that's kinda soul it takes to fan my flame. I'm a blue-eyed Billy, kinda rough and ruddy. I have to work to be somebody. I'm a white man looking for a place to do my thing. I don't want no handout living, don't want any part of anything they're giving, cause I'm proud and white and I got a song to sing. Well, I said a few things and I'll admit it. If you wanna get ahead, you gotta hump and get it. I'm a white man looking for a place to do my thing. I'm a West man looking for a place to do my thing.
I never hate my race, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite. I am rolling with the public, gonna be more white. I saw them twist history right before my very eyes. Insurrection Day, it's in the book and it's all lies. But now I am alive and well to tell it. But will generations down the line be able to sell it? I've always been a thinker on the search for both sides, but they label me an outcast and they cannot tell me why. Guess I'm just a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. Why does affirmative action make them not hire me? Even in the countries where I'm the minority. Is my race just that awesome and no other could compete? Is that what the anti-whites are trying to tell me? Why am I always seen as such a threat? To the point they want to strip me down till there's nothing left. Old friends from high school, man, I haven't kept one, but I got a new crew and it's where I belong. Cause if you ain't going free, you ain't rolling with me. And there are even anti-whites in my own family. But I am the one who's comfortable with myself. I try to save them from the hate so wildly raising hell. that's too white, is Nigeria too black? Don't get your panties in a bunch, cause I have the right to ask. See, I'm the black sheep, cause I call it hypocrisy. And the media will give you emotions, but they will not give you honesty. Yeah, you have your villains, but I have the crime rate. And I'ma shoot to kill if there's a danger my way. So I do not blame the cops, just the ones who are cowards, who hesitate to pull the trigger unless it is one of ours. Cause he's a black sheep, white boy, who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all to bleed red. I have to protect my family, so I put my people to death.
And we are rolling and going free. Let me know if you can hear me okay. It's great to see everybody on this Tuesday evening. Let's get rid of that crawler. It's no longer needed. Epic music from our musicians. We are the only community producing actually good music, and that can benefit our people. Just checking on some settings here as we get ready to roll into race war. I can hear Jason, says Lockie. There's Cool Papa J Magic, J Bishop, Slots, LRN News is here. Nat Quinn, great to see you. Azimuth Clark, Marlene, Kinfolk, Fornol. Who else is with us today? Jay, Marluxia, Mrs. Jess Horst. My heart is a Fed post. Okay. All right. Jimmy Bobby, great to see you. And we're going to be taking a look at this song. I don't know. I can't recall who asked me. In quiz tour, Magnus is here. Hello. Widyakind of Saxony. Widyakind of Saxony is here. Hello to you. Johnny Johnson, great to see you. Hey, give the stream a like. It might matter. It might help. Give the stream a like and then share it on your social media, because otherwise there won't be many folks to have a look at what we're doing and have a look at what we're saying. We're going to get excited, though. We're going to have some fun. There's a lot of news going on, as there is always. And we are the people who are changing the world in service to white well-being. So we will just jump right into. Now, I don't know, and maybe somebody can fill me in. Is this guy like DMCAing people who play his music? We might take the sound off. Or is he just taking the profits from those who play the music? You can go ahead and have my profits. You can go ahead and have them. Go ahead. Tom McDonald, this white rapper, interesting character. And some people, there he is. He's here in a warehouse. He's not alone, though. He's got some other guy wandering around in the background. That's an interesting decision. So he's got this new, there he is. This is the other guy. This is the other guy just wandering around. Maybe he's homeless. I don't know what's up with that. But he's wandering around this empty warehouse no longer used because the work was initially allowed to be shipped out to this free trade thing, shipped out to Central South America. And then when Asia became even cheaper, much of it then shipped all the way over to Asia, actually cheaper to build your widgets on the other side of the planet and ship your widgets all the way around the world, across the Pacific, the largest of oceans, to the United States, than it is to build them down the street from you. And that, of course, is because they have a very different standard in Central and South America and in Asia for how workers are to be treated and how they're to be compensated for their work, and then here in the United States. And so it's actually cheaper. But the wealthy in these anti-white oligarchs in the United States, in Europe, Canada, they would very much like to have the same exact worker conditions in the West, because that will just further increase their wealth. But this is the old. Do you all know about this? Who is this guy? He's a Canadian, I think. He definitely, look at him there. He definitely said that he is, I just did a very quick search, definitely not Christian, says he never will be Christian. And although there are some references to God, I'm not sure which God he's talking about, but he does reference God in some songs. And looks like he even has tattoos on his eyelids. That's something. Let's see. Dr. White says, I think Tom McDonald said it's okay to use his music, but I could be wrong. Cool Papa J Magic says, I wouldn't give any advice because I don't know for sure, but I have seen others review his songs. Okay. So anybody else here like Cool Papa J Magic and has seen others review Tom McDonald songs? And if that's the case, then I can play. I actually won't suffer or make you suffer through the totality of the song. In my opinion, it's quite wretched. But what's important here, of course, is what's the message that's being communicated? Who's listening to this message, and how is it influencing our society, if it can at all? And I think maybe even more importantly is what's it saying about our society? What kind of people are flocking to the message? It's the same reason, or the same collection of reasons why we looked at, and I'm sure we'll go back to, Oliver Anthony. Did I mention Lance is with us? Hello and welcome. Who here is a fan? Franklin said, I watched myself as I reviewed his song. I actually saw a couple of comments that Franklin made in the stream on Sunday. He's funny. We got a lot of funny people in our community. I love it. Brant is funny. Slots, funny. For Null, a lot of folks make really witty, funny statements. RJJ is here. Hello to you. Okay, so others have reviewed his songs then. The great Lockie says he's not a fan. He's a Who man. Okay. All right, well, let me just see really quickly, just to be sure here. And whoa, you look at that. We're live on YouTube. Nobody knows but us. So that's good. We'll just keep it a little secret here. Shh. We don't want anybody to know. Let's see. We'll see. Okay. All right. Yep, I see others. Are they playing his music, though? Let's see this guy. Does he play any of his music? Okay. Can you hear any of that or no? Let me know in the live chat. It's not meant for you to. I haven't hooked it up for it to send the stream signal to you, but I'm just wondering. All right. All right, Bob. Thank you for that. And I'm saying that here. Promethean hails to you, Jimmy Bobby. So could anybody hear that or not? Just curious. Well, we got a fan of Tom McDonald. The best ever was me is a fan of Tom McDonald. We're gonna take a look at the actual lyrics. But let's listen, because it does look, I'm going to keep an eye on my dashboard just to be sure. ACB is here. Says New York is screwed for sure. Everywhere is screwed. New York, it's in the news, just opened the whatever legal hurdle that they had to jump, the city, in order to ship all their homeless out into the rest of the state. How would you like to be a resident in New York State? And you have this wonderful little New England-esque, maybe town, maybe rural, suburban, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden, New York City's homeless show up in the neighborhood. Yeah, that's happening all over the country, and it's going to happen more and more because there aren't enough of us, and that's why we are trying to bring in as many people as we can who are actually effectuating change. We had people show up on Sunday, this past Sunday, and for those who are real thinkers in the community here, this is something for you to maybe chew on for a while, ruminate. They showed up, and while we were celebrating our victories, they left. Try to think about what kind of person that is. That is, finds what's happening in society objectionable. They show up at the only place that they could possibly show up at where people are having actual victories. They're not just doom grifting. And they're like, F this, I'm leaving. I just want to hear about the doom. I just want to hear about how bad everything is. And then I want to give my flaccid, inept opinion on it. And then I want to go to bed grumpy. Nobody wants to do anything. So for everybody out there who's not actively going free and you're complaining, you're just a bitch. That's all there is to it. If you are not actively going free, you're not using the lexical dialectical power on yourself, your family, your friends, strangers, then you're just a bitch. You're just a do-nothing. And there are plenty of audiences out there for you to sit in and do nothing at. But yeah, we had like 40 plus that were like, victories? Nah, not interested in those. Where's the bad news? So let's listen. This is Tom McDonald. He's covered in tattoos. His face, his eyeballs, and his tongue, and all over the body there. And he has a massive following, 4.1 million subscribers on YouTube alone. And I know there'll be repeats on some of the other platforms, but he's got fan base on other platforms as well, and making himself quite a little bit of money. So who's he talking to? Let's find out.
It's okay to be racist, as long as you hating on the Caucasians, teaching white kids that their shade's the same as school shooters and rapists. Maybe I'm tripping because the white children have been getting taught that they got white privilege by the white guys in the high heels who identify as the white women. I'm not proud to be.
Right off the bat, I heard that sentence and I thought to myself, I'm going to have to get the lyrics out because I can't understand much of what he's saying, but it just sounded like white children were being abused for being white by white men who identify as white women. So let's have a quick look at what he said right there at the beginning. We'll listen to a little bit more of the song though.
White, but I'm fine with it because I'm not allowed to have pride in it because the colonizers and the white bigots made white history my business. I ain't never gonna give a damn if you like me. I ain't gonna trip when they stereotype me. I'm a white boy and a white boy like me knows that all lives matter. Fight me when.
White boy, of course, we don't like that. That's why the great FourCorners rewrote the I'm a White Boy and made the song much better than Merle.
I was younger, they taught me to never see color, to treat every man as if he was my brother. But now that we're grown up, we hate one another for all of the ways that we struggle and suffer. They coming for blood and we running for cover. The government wants us divided and dumber, addicted and drunk in the gutter, so we never wake up and...
How is this, just out of curiosity, how is this how's this music? I mean, for the musicians out there, it's just it's like the selling cattle, and there's some musical sounds in the background.
Never recovered. Call me culture vulture because I rap good. I don't pop jams or smoke backwoods, but they call me a wigger and label me Hitler and hate like I'm wearing a Klan hood. It ain't left or right or black or white, it's good and evil. I leave folks hate normal people. United we...
I'm going to make a prediction that there are fans of Tom's who are in the white sympathetic sphere, and they're who don't go free, who do nothing, in other words, who have concluded that Tom MacDonald is our guy. And that gives them the psychological release, the freedom to do nothing, because there's somebody out there and he's speaking our message, and so they don't have to do anything at all.
We stand and divide and we fall. America, we gotta get real. You were segregated, that was not fair. You were enslaved, they did not care. But you were never on a plantation, and my generation was not there. That's trauma in your DNA, causing what we see today. I pray to God you staying strong. Don't want to see no man in pain. You white folks, I'm embarrassed. Some of y'all are such Karens. That prejudice you inherit.
The white folks, or some of y'all are such Karens. Let's jump so we don't play it directly through.
That's the way that I feel. I feel like they feel like
the other homeless guy. This is such like a contradiction in, like, I'm having this total train crash in my head as I'm looking at this. This guy definitely looks like he should be doing a different form of music.
I don't know what they all call me. Cis white male, bigot racist, he's a Nazi. That's not me. I'm not one of these white liberal commies who think black America needs allies in their army. Your neighborhood's all gated, claim you pro-black, but you faking. Guys are dying on the pavement. All your hashtags won't save them. That ain't gangster. People begging for their life still. I know white people who can't afford to pay their light bill, who might feel like they the ones who losing their life, when the worst thing you could be is not ashamed to be white.
Franklin said he has no white guilt. In this song, I think I did read that.
Privilege is a system they position for division. If you black, you go to prison. If you white, your life is different. Take some money, race religion, sprinkle in some ammunition, and make everyone believe that the other team is the villain. I ain't pro-black, I ain't pro-white, I'm pro-American. Every color turns of bones one day when you bury them. Whites and blacks are all the same. They want us in our graves. Just let me try to explain. I swear they want us in a race war, dying every day for whose lives matter more.
What is the opposite of standing up for white well-being in this context, the anti-white context? This to me is striking me, and I will go through the lyrics, read them, and they'll be a little bit more understandable, at least to me. But this sounds a lot like a different music form of Oliver Anthony. It sounds a lot like gestures toward Marxian economics, Marxism itself, multiracial populism that's being pushed as the resistance in Europe and in the United States. It hasn't gained as much of a foothold in the United States in the Republican Party as it has in some of the European countries.
I won't be dying in the race war. Our government is paid for, 'cause our lives matter more.
I think that's the multiracial resistance to the government, the elites. This is what the contemporary Marxists, the genuine economic Marxists. And I know that's redundant, but I say economic Marxist because we have this social ratio or racial Marxism that really pervades. But and so for that reason, I'll say economic Marxism to differentiate. But this is really the representation. In fact, is anybody that's probably a white guy. But this is like where this comes from. This is we are the proletariat. They don't have a name. It's interesting. They don't have a name yet for the proletariat, unless somebody wants to clue me in on it. They do have the name elite. And of course, we talk about within the anti-white narrative, that word means rich white men. They never throw anybody else in with that. It's rich white men, the elite. Now, what did the elite used to be called? The bourgeoisie. This is really just, it's like when it came to, Bolshevism and, those divisions in Russia pre-communist era. These are like the same anti-white divisions that are falling out again. It's like in the United States and, specifically, we'll just talk about the United States. You have the resistance to the elite, to the bourgeoisie, is on one side the most obvious anti-white radical who's out there saying, destroy the white race. And then on the other side are these people who are like, hey, race doesn't exist. Let's just all breed together and it doesn't matter. All that matters is the money, and the government's bought and paid for. We don't have any of it. I mean, this is Karl Marx is throwing a party in his grave at this. How is this guy's ideology getting embraced at this point in our descent into perdition? It's because so many of these white people don't realize that you can be moral and say we're putting an end to the victimization of our people. They believe that articulating any objection to the victimization of white people is immoral, because socially, as First, Last, and I were messaging each other, the social or the common morality, and I really like calling it common, is the anti-white morality. And so they know that people around them will find an objection to the victimization of white people as immoral. It is of the common morality. Anti-white morality is the common morality across the West. So they're terrified. They're frightened. There is, of course, the enormous element of the radical, selfish individualism of white people that also undermines or impedes a natural reaction from our people. Look at this on the screen. Does that seem natural at all to you? You look at Oliver Anthony. Does how he is acting and his ardent supporters, so many have abandoned him, does that seem natural at all? They want us, there is no truth whatsoever to what this song is saying. I'll go through the lyrics and I'll see expressly what is said and then I'll comment on it. But saying that they, rich white men, want us in a race war is total hogwash. The entire, everybody knows this too. They're just afraid to say it. It would be, as I've mentioned before, infinitely easy to divide all of the races in a multiracial environment. Infinitely easy. Because it is already organically something that people do. They divide themselves on the basis of biospirit. So it would be infinitely easy. Go to any cafeteria. Go to any library. Go to any armed service function where they're not ordered to be together. And you see organically how people parse themselves. It would be infinitely easy to drive people against all the different races against each other. That's not what's happening at all. You have white people who are cowards, even one that covers himself in tattoos to look oh so tough, who can't just tell it like it is. he should be able to say, hey, if you are of any race, black, white, whatever, Hispanic, Arab, Jew, if you don't like white people, you. That's what he should say. You want to harm white people? You. That's what he should say. We have to all stand together against this hatred of white kids, against this hatred of Western civilization. And if you don't want to stand with us, then you. If he were tough, he would say that. But he just plays tough and gets rich doing it. So good for him, right?
In a race war, dying in the streets should be us against them, but it's you against me. Ain't nobody gonna.
Us against them. Those are the exact words I said about Oliver Anthony. That was their argument. It's an us against them, and the them is the rich white guys. The us is all the multiracial lumpen proletariat. I guess they're lumpen still because they're not ready to rise up against. If you've actually done any reading about Marx and the ideology of hell.
When everybody gonna see that the color of your skin don't change the color that you bleed.
Oh boy, that's so real, man. Real. Color of your skin don't change the color that you bleed. Man, that's real, bro. Man, you so hardcore. Man, he's so hardcore, isn't he? Calls himself a white boy. I believe it. Wow, that's hardcore truth right there. Real, based. Trivializing race as something skin deep. Dogs bleed red. I mean, what a dumb thing. Is this not what you get from the anti-whites everywhere else? This is like your resistance? Are you fucking kidding me?
They want us in a race war.
I mean, this guy's covered in tattoos, got his hair tied in knots and everything. And he is about as edgy as every female, wider than she is tall, elementary school teacher. That's about how edgy and gangsta and tough and against the current he is.
Dying every day for whose lives matter more. I won't be dying in the race war. Our government is paid for, 'cause our lives matter more.
Okay. So, buy his music. Go out and buy his tunes. He won't be dying in the race war. Yeah, you will, Tom. You will, because you're white. And the anti-whites are going to come for you. Maybe you're hoping with your money you'll be able to leave, and or you'll be dead by the time that they start shipping us all into camps or whatever it is. But yes, you will. You will, because you're white. So let's have a look at what the article, or not the article, at the lyrics. Race war. Adam Calhoun. Doesn't Adam Calhoun just strike you as a total thug-ass gangster down in the hood of Compton name? I think both of these guys are as confused as the folks that they were criticizing in the beginning. Men calling themselves women or whatever they said at the beginning. I'll take a look at what y'all are saying while we're talking about it. Helio Sabbath is here. Show whatever. I can't. Is that POS? Okay. I will call you POS. Sinkoi is here. Hello. Samuski. Hindenburg. I mean, what do y'all think? Do I got it wrong? Tell me if I've got it wrong. If you think I got it wrong on Tom MacDonald, because I'm sure you've heard more songs from him than than I have. But here we go. Race war. Tom MacDonald, Adam Calhoun. And yo, Adam Calhoun. It's okay to be racist as long as you hating on the Caucasians, is how race war starts. Makes you kind of think that, oh, it's interesting. Maybe he's going to be defending white people. Teaching white kids that they're shades the same as school shooters and rapists. Their shade, trivializing race as just like this hue. There's nothing there. There's no difference, but just like this texture, this exterior. That meme pathogen is one of the oldest, and it's been increasingly discarded by hardcore anti-whites. Just the anti-white lights hold on to it. You see it all over the conservative sphere. They just hold on to it, and they think that it was one of the anti-white moral principles, the common morality, one of their moral principles. And so cucks think that, I mean, even when they're gangster type cucks, they think I can own the opposition. I can own them by upholding and being truer to this principle of theirs, that race is just a skin color. I mean, by God, you go out in the sun and that color even changes some. That's all it is. It's not biospiritual. It doesn't have any significance whatsoever. It's just a skin color. I will uphold that principle more than the hardcore anti-whites, and therefore I'm more of their moral structure than they are, meaning I'm legit. Could you imagine the imbecility? Could you imagine? I mean, if you are one of the knights of the white table and you've been going free, this kind of thing makes your stomach turn. Your stomach turns when you hear these people trying to own the anti-whites by being more anti-white than them, grabbing one of their principles and saying that you are more dedicated to that principle. Race is just nothing. It means nothing. It's been decades since that was the main MP. It's been decades, but it's just been passed down by his grandmother, I'm sure. Could you imagine being a gangster, feigning that you are a gangster, that you're this hard ass, and you're essentially just reciting the ethos of your anti-white grandmother? It's the same thing with like tattoos now. You know, there was a time, apparently, when tattoos meant that you were really edgy, you were different, you were out there. And now, whose grandmother doesn't have a tattoo? You remember that little, like everybody's grandmother, she like has that little tattoo of that butterfly right here on the chest. And now that she's like 78, it's goddamn Rodin. It has stretched down with the udders, and it's got wings like this on it. And you used to cry when she would wear that low-cut top in the front because you didn't know whether it was some kind of cancer that she was going to give you when you were a child. Okay. Teaching white kids that they're shade the same as school shooters and rapists. Sounds good so far, right? Like he's going to stand up and stand against the demonization of white children. We're like, I applaud that. Really good. Maybe I ain't tripping because the white children have been getting taught that they got white privilege. I'm a little confused by this sentence. Maybe I ain't tripping because the white children have been getting taught that they got white privilege. Yeah. And of course, that's a meme pathogen that is used to destroy the white race, to destroy the character, to sever white children from their inheritance, from their pride, to turn them into anathema to their very being inside of them, so that everywhere they go, they are at war, because that war is essence of who they are. Okay, so now we find out that they're getting taught, they're hating. You can be racist if you're hating on a Caucasian, of course, validating the anti-white mean pathogen, the one that defeated Western civilization, racist. You never use that concept. Teaching white kids that they're school shooters and rapists and that they have white privilege. And then he says, by the white guys in the high heels who identify as the white women. So apparently in his mind, this phenomenon is restricted to white people, or maybe it's okay that you can criticize a transgender or a cross-dresser if you're criticizing white ones. It's almost like he's legitimizing the opening sentence, that he's like it. He is the thing. He's criticizing cross-dressing and transgender when they're white. He's saying it's the white race's fault that white children are being taught that they're school shooters, rapists. Isn't that's a fascinating kind of turn there I didn't expect. He says, I'm not proud to be white, but I'm fine with it. Well, why wouldn't you be proud? Does he say in any of his other songs that other races should be proud of who they are? Does he say in this song that other races should be proud of who he's not proud of being white? He's not proud, but he's fine. He's fine with being white. Like, you have a choice. Your choice is not whether or not you're fine with it, Tom. Your choice is whether or not you take pride in who and what you are, or you wage war on who and what you are. Those are your choices. You can't be fine, because it is, whether you're fine with it or okay with it or not. Guess I'm not allowed to have pride in it is the next. Guess I'm not allowed. Well, you're the rebel, man. You're the rebel. You just said, I'm not proud, and then guess I'm not allowed. Because the colonizers and the white bigots, I wonder if does he talk anywhere about non-white bigots? Does he talk anywhere about how awful anti-white Jews are? How awful anti-white Indians are? How often does he talk about that? Or only white people? So he talks here about the white people, the colonizers, he calls them, and the white bigots. Made white history my business. So because white people, I guess, were bad in the back, just adopting the anti-white narrative, because they were bad, now it's his business because he's getting blamed for it. I ain't never going to give a damn if you like me. I ain't going to trip when they stereotype me. I'm a white boy, and a white boy like me knows that all lives matter. Isn't it? I mean, when I read that, I was like, are you kidding me? I thought he was going to follow, like, even though we don't like calling, I said, I don't call myself a boy, and you never should either if you're a white male. It's meant to be demeaning. So he says, though, I'm a white boy and a white boy like me. And I thought, okay, well, what's this next sentence going to be, right? And the next sentence is, I know anti-whiteism. I'm all for anti-whiteism is the next sentence. I know a white boy like me knows that all lives matter. Bite me. I thought that was something, bite me, that Valley girls in California used to say in the 80s. Are they still like wandering around like ghosts in California? Maybe Fornell can tell us. Do you have some ghosts of the Valley girls wandering around? Gag me with a spoon. Is that going to be his next lyric? Gag me with a spoon. Bite me. When I was younger, they taught me to never see color. Yeah, that's one of the big problems that white people have. They say ignore that race is real and that they're targeting you because of your race. So this is the I don't see color, so I own your anti-white principle more than you do. I am more dedicated to this anti-white principle than you. And so therefore I'm superior to you, other anti-whites who are breaking this principle, this noble principle of yours. To treat every man as if he was my brother, but now that we're grown, we grown up, we hate one another. And what's the hatred that's taught across the totality of Western civilization? News, entertainment, education, it's all directed at the white race. You can't go anywhere where there's any official capacity. You can go to every single national and international company, and you're going to find these white behavioral training days where they're going to take these anti-white behavioral training days where they take you in like a dog and they tell everybody that works there how awful the white race is and how, as a consequence, white people have to bend over backwards for everybody else. Does that happen for any other group of people, Tom? Are they out there telling, are they bringing people in and they're saying, well, you know what, let's look at the pedophilic data of Hispanic Americans and Hispanics in Mexico and El Salvador. Let's look at the rates at which they molest children. Do they do that? And do they then tell the Hispanics that are present, who are good, moral, not law-breaking individuals, to say, now you're going to have to go out of your way now to make sure that everybody here knows that you're not diddling your nephew or niece? Do they do that? No. So they're not bashing us against teaching us all to hate each other. No, it's all about hate the white race. How can these people not even be just even the least bit honest? Okay, we're all hating each other. So for all of the ways we struggle and suffer, they're coming for blood and we're running for cover. Who are they? The elites. And who are the elites? That's the bourgeoisie, the capitalists, the white men, the fat cats with all the money. They're coming for blood and we're running for cover. The government wants us divided and dumber, addicted and drunk in the gutter, so we never wake up and never recover. If you disagree with me politely, tag me and let me know. I mean, are these not the lyrics of this song? And you remember when I was talking about Oliver Anthony, when I said, you just watch, the song's going to come out about his brown brothers and his black brothers and his yellow brothers, and we're all just blue collar. Well, this guy beat him to it. Apparently, this guy has been doing that for a while. We're all blue in the collar. Call me culture vulture because I rap good. I don't pop Zans or smoke backwoods. This actually sounds to me, honestly, I'm not just trying to make fun of. Honestly, it sounds like a female, an anti-white female in junior high school wrote a poem. That's what this sounds like to me. But they call me a wigger and label me Hitler and hate like I'm wearing a Klan hood. It ain't left or right or black or white. It's good and evil. Boy, that's right out of Oliver Anthony, isn't it? Except Tom is a secularist. He's not Christian, said he'll never be Christian. He does refer to, I think in this song, God at least once. So I guess he believes in a creator. But there you have it. He says, boy, they're labeling me all of these different things. Wigger, Hitler, hate on him like he's wearing a Klan hood. And he just can't do enough to prove that he's not any of that. He says, it ain't left or right. What did Oliver Anthony say? Or black or white? What did Oliver Anthony say? It's good and evil. So that really is like a hat tip to the Bible shysters, isn't it? He's not a Bible shyster because he doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. But it really is a hat tip to them. It's about good and evil. Good and evil are relative. Stop acting and stop making this erroneous conclusion And this is, I'm talking to my white brothers and sisters out there, because we've developed this objectivity beyond us. And we think it has to be outside of us and therefore potentially harming us for it to be true. And when it really harms us, the truer it is. That's not how it works. Good and evil are relative. Into the conversation. Those are both good and evil are things to be interpreted. Any moment, one thing that is evil can, in a different moment, by the same actors in the context, be the opposite. And for one man's good is another man's evil. So it's just this bizarre low IQ. Maybe that's why it's just like this drug for the masses. It's phatic statements with no value, no substance to them, that can just be recited by midwits and midgetwits. But more importantly, I think you can see here that Tom MacDonald is totally inside the anti-white narrative. For all of his on the edge, covered in tattoos, F the system, all of that, he's firmly in the anti-white narrative. And so he cannot resist. Oh, look here. Elite folks ain't normal people. The elite folks, the bourgeoisie. United we stand and divided we fall. And by what do they mean by that? They certainly don't mean what founding fathers and other historical American figures meant about united we stand, divided we fall attitudes. He's talking about multiracialism, isn't he? United, all the different races coming together in like this matrix, movie matrix, underworld, dancing barefoot in the slop of some cave somewhere to some like tribal drum beating. That's the united we stand. And if we're not united like that, then divided we fall. That's not a vision for my future. No, my future is in the stars. My future is Greco-Roman architecture. My future are things built on planet Earth that no one else has ever even envisioned or imagined. Buildings the size of mountains is what Western kind would be building today if it weren't for anti-whiteism destroying us. All right, the elite folks, they ain't normal. United we stand, divided we fall. America, we got to get real. Isn't that like so de rigueur for rap? We got to get real. We got to get real. True. Based. We getting real over here. I know he's made himself a ton of money, so I'm the one. I guess I'm the one being laughed at because he's laughing all the way to the bank. I get it. But I had to choose this life mission of trying to save Western kind, whatever small effort I could put in that direction to have that outcome. But I get it. He's filthy rich from playing the edgy guy. So you were segregated. Okay, now this is a really interesting part. I actually understood this during the song. You were segregated. Look at it. Oh, look at it there. Look at him here. He's a little airplane. Oh, he's about to take off. Oh, that's so cute, Tommy. You're a little airplane? Look at you. What sound does the airplane make? We're crashing. I feel like I should have this playing in the background. Where's First Last, or maybe some of the other musicians could answer me this question. What was this called? The Woeo or something like that? That was used in songs. OEO. What's it called? The OEO that was used in songs for like a whole decade, just used everywhere. Oh, yo. To get everybody saying it. All right, let's continue. We got to get real. Okay, now he's talking to black people now. Because apparently the world is only made up of black and white people. It's a strange thing, isn't it? It's always like, we got to talk to the black people when we're talking about race. There are no other people present. It's just white people and black people. So he's got to talk to the black people. He says, you were segregated. That was not fair. So he's saying this sentence is to black people. You black people were segregated, and that wasn't fair. What are you talking about? It wasn't fair. Look, if you want to say anything, he should say, you were allowed into the civilization incrementally. You were allowed to participate incrementally. Everything wasn't turned over to you in one whole swoop. That wasn't going to work. You were incrementally introduced to more and more of a participatory role in Western civilization, which white men built. So not fair. I mean, that's like saying to the guy who is now the CEO of the company, because that's really how things have turned out, isn't it? That it wasn't fair that you were started in the mail room. You just should have instantly been given the CEO position, just the highest paying executive position there is. That's what you should have been given. It wasn't fair that you had to start. Those white people were evil to make you start in the mail room. So you were segregated. That was not fair. You were enslaved. So first of all, the person he's talking to, and it's a weird set of sentences here, because he contradicts himself in the very next couple of sentences. He's saying to black people, you were segregated, you were enslaved. None of them were segregated or enslaved. There ain't no black people around today that, at least that you're going to, I mean, maybe if you work in an old folks home and you got somebody who's 100 years old or whatever. And then very often you find out, we talk to those much older black people, they're like, what is going on in the world? Everything was better before this. They did not, okay, you were enslaved and they did not care. So he's talking about white people. They, as somebody else, they didn't care. You were enslaved, you were segregated. Them awful white people, they didn't care what they were doing to you. Seriously, Tom? Then this is the next sentence. He says, but you were never on a plantation. You just said that they were. So are you affirming like this idea, this anti-white idea, that any injury of the past to a group of people, to a non-white group of people, can be blamed on the white race, and the white race is forever indebted to them, has to ever compensate them? Generation after generation after generation. Horse shit. You cannot demand that the non-white brother of a rapist who did the raping today and the blood brother of that guy pay restitution. So that's the immediate brother. It would be insane to think that you could go to him and say, you're going to pay restitution. That would be insane. But you can do it in perpetuity to white babies, generation after generation. And then he says, and my generation was not there. So this sounds to me not like the argument kind of I was making just then, but it sounds more like you can blame them. They were awful. Those white people were awful. I agree with you. So don't blame me for those awful white people. I hate them as much as you do. If you accept their premises for their anti-white arguments, you can't change the direction of the conclusion, Tom. Rapping is your strong suit. But if you have anything else up between those ears, you should heed the advice of somebody who specializes in this realm. That's trauma in your DNA. I'm not shitting you. It actually says, but you were never on a plantation and my generation was not there. That's trauma in your DNA. If they have generational, and this is an anti-white argument, and he's even going further than just the generational social trauma and the ramifications of it, which of course is total bullshit, because we see populations very often, they'll refer to them as model minorities, even Black populations that come into the United States from Africa, and they marry into the Black population here, but somehow they escape that generational trauma that the American Blacks would have communicated to them, and that social tapestry that's just somehow everywhere but nowhere you can find it. They somehow do better. It's fascinating. Tom's going further, and he's actually saying it's genetic. You're still hurting today from those whiplashes. You can still feel them. Because what we see today, I pray to God, you staying strong, he says to his Black brothers. Don't want to see no man in pain. Stay strong, Black man, because you have all this genetic suffering that evil white people inflicted on you. I pray that you stay strong. Don't want to see you in pain. Then he turns from Black people, saying all that to Black people, to white people. Dear white folks, I'm embarrassed, he says to white people. Some of y'all are such Karens, anti-white slur, Karens. That prejudice you inherited, this is fucking insane. I'm really, every sentence I read, I dislike this clown more. He just said that Black people have a genetic pain that comes to them from what evil white people did to them. And now he said that white people have a genetic predilection to prejudice. It's just in us genetically because you inherited it. That prejudice you inherited was racism from your parents. Are you kidding me? This is the actual lyrics from the song, folks. Get that poison out your veins. Whites and Blacks are all the same. That really sounds like a 11 or 12-year-old junior high school girl writing an anti-white poem. Get that poison out your veins. Whites and Blacks are all the same. They want us, the white fat cats, in our graves. Just let me try to explain. Wow. I had no idea it was this shitty. I swear they want us in a race war, dying every day for whose lives matter more. Whoa. I won't be dying in a race war our government is paid for because our lives matter more. Whoa. If you were born Black, you lose. Total anti-white narrative. I mean, what the hell? If you were born Black, you lose. Might as well go get that noose to kill yourself, I guess. You're going to die before you're 25. Maybe he's saying here that this is, he's mocking the anti-white narrative about Black people having a hard time or being a loser because they were born Black, even though he just said that the suffering is genetic, hopes his Black brothers are staying strong, doesn't want to see a man in pain. You're going to die before you're 25, get shot over your shoes, you're going to get killed by police. Going to get killed by police, even when you follow the rules? If you listen to the news, you're going to believe all this is true. True. He actually says, I'm not kidding. Where's Brant? He actually writes here, you're going to believe all this is true. True. I ain't feeling no white guilt. Oh, that's where he does say it. You're right, Franklin. I ain't feeling no white guilt. But yeah, is he not feeling white guilt because he hates the racist white people? He hates on the white people from the past that are making it his business, a la the beginning of the song. All those colonizers. And it has made it his business because now he's blamed for it. And he's rebuking the responsibility for it and saying, I will double down here and say, I hate those white people too. Is that what he's doing? Because that's a very different no white guilt. You know what I mean? I ain't feeling no white guilt. Very different than like our position, which is we're not accepting any of your anti-white narrative. We're not going to feel bad for any of the things you want us to feel bad about. We're putting an end to the victimization, and we call out all of those excuses to victimize us as pretext just to arrive at that anti-white conclusion. He writes on, they won't riot for me when I'm killed. I guess he's talking about white people rioting for him if he's killed. They won't riot for me if I'm killed. I guess white lives don't matter. Sad, but that's the way that I feel. I feel like they feel like I don't know what they all call me. Cis, white male, bigot, racist, he's a Nazi. That's not me. I'm not one of those white liberal commies, really. Or I think the guy with the beard was rapping that portion. I'm not one of those white liberal commies who think Black America needs allies in their army. Your neighborhood's all gang. You claim you pro-Black, but you faking. Because he's really pro-Black. Tom and this other guy here, they're the really pro-Black ones. They're not pro-white, but they're pro-Black apparently because the white liberal commies, that's like the surest sign that you're dealing with a gelded, hollow-headed twit, is to hear them call out the opposition, our victimizers, as commies or communists. You guys are dying on the pavement. All your hashtags won't save them. They ain't gangsta. Okay. People begging for their life. Still, I know white people who can't afford to pay their light bill, who might feel like the ones who losing their life. That's like the biggest defense of white people right there. When the worst thing you could be is not ashamed to be white. That's a true statement. But their remedy to the demonization of the white race is to say, we didn't do those things and we hate those people too. And what we need to remedy this is a multiracial Marxian rebellion against the rich white fat cats. That's their response to it. So at least they're acknowledging that white people are being victimized, right? But how are the white people being victimized at this point in the song? It's, well, they can't pay their light bill. The Blacks, though, they're suffering with genetic injury forever. White privilege is a system. What? So he's affirming this mean pathogen? White privilege is a system? That's absolutely an affirmation. He says, white privilege is a system. They position for division. So white people created white privilege to divide the races. That's hardcore right out of racial Marxist doctrine. Anti-whiteism. If you're Black, you go to prison. If you're white, your life is different. My God. This is like the rebels? Seriously? These are the rebels to the anti-white status quo. Take some money, race, religions, sprinkle in some ammunition, and make everybody believe that the other team is the villain. Of course, that's not what's happening. Everybody's not believing that the other team, the other group is the villain. Everybody is believing that the white race is the villain, and you all are demonstrating that. I ain't pro-black. Oh, he says right here, I ain't pro-black. I ain't pro-white. I'm pro-American. That means you're pro-white. I mean, America, the West, is a creation of Western kind. So you like America, you like Western, or maybe you like the America that is becoming. And we'll take a look at a couple news items, a couple of headlines, what America is becoming. Maybe that's the America you like. Again, I keep getting this visual of the tribal drums under the earth in some cavern, and this sweaty, BO and just wretched, fetid stench, and dancing in the mud, barefoot and everything. Nasty. Keep getting this vision from the Matrix. Whites or blacks are all the same. They want us in our graves. Just let me explain. I swear they want us in a race war. Is it just going to continue now? Yeah. Okay. So that's it. That's it.
Race war, our government is paid for, 'cause our lives matter more.
If you born black, you lose. Might as well go get that. You gon' die before you 25, get shot over your shoes. You gon' get killed by police even when you follow the rules. If you listen to the news, you gon' believe all this is true.
Yeah.
I feel no white guilt, they'll ride for me when
Oh,
I'm killed.
man.
I guess white lies don't matter, Sarah. That's the way that I feel. I feel like they feel like I don't know what they all call me. Sis.
Hey, man, look, just take the limbs off that tree and quit with the music. And then get the hell off my property. Could you imagine? Could you imagine you hire some guys to come and you got these limbs that are too close to the house. They're going to start brushing up against the house. I need you to take those off, and that'll be good. Agreed upon price. I'll pay you when you're done. And then this in the yard.
White male, bigot, racist, he's a Nazi. That's not me. I'm not one of these white liberal commies who think black America needs allies in their army. Your neighborhood's all gated, claim you pro-black, but you faking. Guys are dying on the pavement.
I like the sound of the wood chipper better. So there are some questions about this song, and isn't that interesting? So the blame, who is blamed for the hostility, for the friction that we see, the friction, the anti-white friction, the anti-white hostility? Who's blamed for it? Same as Oliver Anthony, white people. It's amazing. You know, we will. What was it? What were they called? The Mensheviks? I can't. They divided from the Bolsheviks, and they were anti-white, both of them. If we don't recapture our destiny incrementally, sooner than later, white people, the ones that are left, will be looking back, just like you can look back right now what happened with the Bolshevik division, how they went their separate ways. You can look, they'll look back and they'll say, "Whoa, look at this. You had like anti-white hardcore and anti-white light. Those were your options back then." Is there anywhere in this video, do they show, I mean, maybe I missed it. Do they show a white guy that's just like 100% clear you know, he couldn't be anything else?
Your hashtags won't save them. That ain't gangster. People begging for their.
That ain't gangster. It ain't gangster. Oh, what's he doing there? Look, he's like an airplane. He's getting ready to take. Oh, you know what he's going to do? He's going to do that thing that the cheerleaders and the gymnasts do. He's going to run forward. He's going to throw his hands down and then do a couple of these deals across this empty floor where there used to be jobs. And if we had a government that actually cared about the citizens of this country, and more importantly, the founding stock, the people who create America, Western civilization, genetically we project it onto the world, these places would be filled with employees. It would all be safe. People would be paid a fair amount. The population would be much smaller, and we would be infinitely more productive. Nature across the United States would be blooming and clean. The air would be clean. The rivers would sparkle. Every stream would. You wouldn't have a stream like you have up there in, what is it, Ohio? Now we're it's like China now. You get close enough, you throw a match down, and the whole stream catches on fire. Nothing being done about that. But hey, you got this hardcore resistance here to what these white fat cats are doing. The elites, in other words, the bourgeoisie. Do you know how easy it would be? And for the thinkers, for the real thinkers, I want to drop this for you to think about. How easy would it be for anti-whites, it could even be an opportunistic anti-white or group of them, to just take total control of the anti-white light movement? Go ahead and write up a couple of concepts that they would need, because they're lacking some. I'm not going to say where they would need them. Provide them with the concepts, get some financial support, and they could create a Menshevik resistance to the current Bolshevik anti-whites. It would be both anti-whites, and then they would wage at it. That's where you have the potential for real Civil War-esque conflict, because then you would have an oppositional pole, and white people would be chewed alive. They would be eaten up in that. If you're seeing what I'm saying, let me get a hoo-yah from you, or an amen.
Who can't afford to pay their light bill, who might feel like they the ones who losing their life, when the worst thing you could be is not ashamed to be white. White privilege is a system they position for division. If you black, you go to prison. If you white, your life is different. Take some.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, they're saying they're not going to feel white guilt for what other white people did, and they hate those white people too. I mean, what a pernicious disease. Isn't that something?
Money, race, religion, sprinkle in some ammunition and make everyone believe that the other team is the.
They're like, no, there aren't any jobs here, guys. We told you to go home. Stop wandering around the empty factory. You can't get work. No, we don't need janitors.
I ain't pro-black, I ain't pro-white, I'm pro-American.
Oh, God. Look at that. How hollow, how vapid is that?
The other team is the villain. I ain't pro-black, I ain't pro-white, I'm pro.
Okay, so what does America mean? I'd like to ask this guy, what does America mean? Adam? What is America? I guarantee you he would say ideas. It's an experiment of liberty and ideas for anyone who wants to come here. Oh, yeah? Is that what our founding fathers said? Is that what the country was doing all the way up until the 1960s, when they radically transformed the immigration pattern to make it very difficult for white people to come in and facilitate the transference of the populations of the Southern Hemisphere to the West, specifically here in the United States? Is that what America was doing? Just a bunch of ideas. I'm pretty sure I read that from Tom Jefferson or Patrick Henry or Benjamin Franklin or George Washington. Pretty sure they wrote that this is just a country of ideas and it doesn't belong to our descendants and our people. No, it belongs to the world. It says it right at the beginning of the Constitution, doesn't it? Look at this guy. He's built like a goddamn Tootsie Roll. Look at this. Silver Magic is here. We miss the black shirt and pink tie combo. Ah, thank you. I will bring it back. I will bring it back. Fernald says he'll never be as cool as Riff Raff. All right. Silver Magic saying, as you once said, it's mental syphilis. Yes. Thank you for remembering that. It is mental syphilis. Red Dog is here. Great to see you. Free Thinker. Thank you for thinking freely. Rat Trap is here. Sloth writes, quote, I'm not feeling no white guilt. Yeah. Yes. 555 is here. I would love in one of these like these badass videos to have these tough guy videos to have them actually do like the plane thing in the empty factory. But they're tough. They're covered in tattoos.
American, every color turns to bones one day when you bury them.
Every color turns to bones when you bury them. Did I somehow miss that? Oh, what the hell? I ain't pro-black, I ain't pro-white, I'm pro-American. Every color turns to bones. How absolutely insipid. Man, you are a philosopher. You are so wise. I'm glad so many people follow, and this is the sickness that music is the most powerful thing for people by far. And this is the music that's out there, unfortunately, reaching shit tons of people. These are the rebels. Every color turns to bones. It's not the similarities that make us the same. It's the differences that make us different. Wow.
Whites and blacks are all the same. They want us in our graves. Just let me try to explain.
I swear they want us in a race war.
What was he doing just then? Was he like swiping a cockroach off his sneakers? What was that about?
Dying every day.
Like he's doing the plane again. Yay!
For whose lives matter more.
Oh boy. Right, so are there any white people?
Dying in the race war.
What are they both doing right here? I want to hear from the live chat what they're both doing. They're both bent over at the same time. They got their hands out to their sides. Did they both just shit themselves and they're like, oh shit. Oh shit. All right. What do we have going on around the country right now? We have Target to close 9 stores in 4 states, citing theft that threatens workers and shoppers. What do you think of that? I want to read to you. Triple Five says they're bending for love. Oh my God. That's good. There must have been like a tone that got played, and then they both just automatically bent over. But they both spent time in jail. Lonely Sage says, love your channel, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We keep it real here. True. Based. Based. All right. Dolphins have bones. There's for White Wellbeing. We're actually going to read this testimonial, this letter from For White Wellbeing here in just a moment. It's really a beautiful thing. Contradict greatly. with what we've just been looking at. And in all seriousness, I've actually reached out to Tom MacDonald, and he totally ignored me. And I would like for him to stand up against anti-whiteism. And if you're out there and you're working on him to try to get him to come around to using the lexicon and dialectics, then more power to you. I hope you can reach him. And I hope that he'll start creating music that actually pushes back against anti-whiteism. And if you see hope, if you see possibility there, then that's fantastic. I support you and that effort. And maybe even this Adam Calhoun person, maybe even he as well can be helped to see things a little bit more clearly. My guess, though, is that you're going to have a hard time getting them to use the lexicon, because this argument, that might not mean that you won't, though. It would be fantastic, wouldn't it, if you did? But the case that they're making has an audience with dollars. An actual rebellion to anti-whiteism, not so much. Not enough dollars there. So saying we're the rebellion and race doesn't matter, it's just a suntan. Some of us have more, some of us have less. And we're all coming together against the elites, the bourgeoisie. There are plenty of white people out there with dollars that are afraid to stand up against anti-whiteism. And they'll take this anti-white tact and course, and they'll pay for it. But more power to you. And it would be great. It would be magnificent if maybe his next song is End Anti-Whiteism. Something like that. That'd be great. And then I'll be here cheering him, because as you all know, all that matters is whether somebody is in this moment combating anti-whiteism. I don't care about their history of combating it. Whatever. If they are combating it now, then I laud them. If they're not combating it, and in fact, if they're actually pushing anti-whiteism, then I'll mock, ridicule, deride them. That's how it goes in here. Do you consider, JD asked, do you consider no white guilt racism? Tag me again. I don't know what you're asking. I'm not sure what you're asking with that. So tag me again, maybe at the very beginning at no white guilt, and then give a little bit more info on your question. Mestizo Kov is with us. He says, this rap video seems to be lacking dancing women, actual women, not these two clowns. Can MacDonald dance? I mean, neither of them are dancing at all, or like even moving at all, like the showing rhythm at all. It's just more of this, what is that called? And what is that called? Do we have anybody who studied acting? It's just like this performative pain, expressions of pain, expressions of angst, expressions of anger that they're doing on the stage. And I feel like if I were to see that in person, I would feel very embarrassed for them. I would have vicarious embarrassment, and my ass would probably seal shut out of that sensation of embarrassment, cringing your entire guts up. And I would have to have surgery. It would be awful. But yeah, no actual women. Jay Bishop says, if Tom MacDonald didn't say we all have bones, I wouldn't have known it. Derp, derp. Yeah. Samuski says crunk. Is that what it's called? Huh, that sounds dreadful. Jimmy says, he says, MP, all color turns to bones when you bury them. MC, great point. Race isn't skin deep, it's bone deep. Tom should find a career as an air traffic controller. I'm assuming he'd enjoy that. Oh, no, you mean like the guys that stand out on the tarmac and they're like, come this way, go that way. That he would like. Yeah, it would be perfect for him. Silver Mage says, I would answer by quoting Jared Taylor, but I would get timed out. Yeah, for what? I mean, what would you quote his data sharing? No. Ash supposedly said that Blair White is dancing in one of Tom McDonald's videos. Are you kidding? Please tell me you're kidding. If that's true, I need that video. We are going to play it. If that's true, what is the German word for vicarious embarrassment? Fremdschämen. Oh my God. Calling into work and saying that I have crunk 19. Yeah, that's what happened. We all were infected here. Lance Miller is here. So is Cube Buster. You got a better rapper name than Tom McDonald. I will just tell you that. Jesus Christus #1 fan is with us. Hello, welcome. Democrat Poop City. Hey, every Poop City is a good one. Who wouldn't? That's what they've all become, my friend. They're all just Poop Cities. All right. Well, I'm going to take a look at this testimonial, and we're going to get into the news. I'll pull down this. Isn't this awesome? Are there white people on the screen there? This girl, she might be white, right? That one, she might be white. I think that might be the only white guy, but you know what? I don't know. He could be Jewish from here. It's an interesting group that they pulled together, isn't it? What was the idea behind that? I mean, why have so few white people? I'm curious. I'm asking you, like genuinely asking you all, why have so few white people on the screen? Johnny Johnson said he also had a song recently called American Flags. What was that one about? We can't take too much more, Tom. Yeah, thanks, says Kinfolk. Yes. Samuski says dollars. Dollars. It's for the dollars. I guess I interpreted this as him as effectively saying this is the rebellion. This is the real people, And it's curious because we see that in the anti-white narrative, when we're given that, this is the real people, this is the real substance of humanity, there's always a dearth of white people. Very often they're not represented at all. It's like we're aliens. We're not earthlings also. We're not represented. But that's anti-whiteism. So I don't know. There are people who follow Tom MacDonald and they know him a lot better than I do. So I'm just looking at this song and forming some opinions. So maybe if you build in the knowledge of other songs and interviews or podcasts or whatever, then you know a little bit more about where he's coming from and where he's limited by the anti-white narrative and where he's actually kind of just like bluffing some to get a point. But to get a point across, that's a little bit edgier, but he's kind of putting anti-white narrative in people's faces so they don't, I guess, shut him down the rest of the way. Because I have heard that they've made his life quite difficult when it comes to making money. They didn't permit him to have the normal avenues. And yet with peer-to-peer communication created by what group of people? What group? He's made himself very rich. You think he'd be thankful. But we will read from a champion here. This is for white well-being. Let me actually pull this down. And I'll be your professor tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll pull this down and we will bring up instead this article that we're going to just fit. We're going to like jump through these because it's in their toto that they have value. We're not going to go diving deep on any particular article. There we go. Here's what For White Wellbeing reached out to me with, ladies and gentlemen. Lieber Jason, brother, I am again supremely honored to receive your regards and praise. I inherited from our people a strong connection with the spirit of the West. I believe especially so in touch with the standard of good character for our people. In general, feeling our spirit is overwhelmingly powerful. Hence, the value of alignment. He's referencing aligning with the archetype of Western kind. The same is true for many that will reach out there. Our people, they must be reached. So burdensome to be a man of the West and not act as a man of the West. The same for our women of the West. They need this message, talking about what we teach here. But again, for all those men out there having our people's spirit trapped within his body, his potential smothered, it is tormenting. He can feel this in many ways, as shame, fear, low energy, frustration, depression, insincerity, among others. Then, whatever vices take root to relieve him. Like the caged eagle, wolf lost from his pack, shark in shallow waters, he suffers. His people suffer. The world suffers. His life, a flame only dimly lit atop a towering beacon. This commitment here is a long time coming, and I am only just getting started. I apologize for arriving so late to duty. And he's talking about these videos, these magnificent, inspiring videos that he has made and making. And there's a third one right now he's working on, just polishing up a little bit. And when that's available, I will make it available to all of you on a stream. I aspire to intercept our people, those with best intentions, who wander looking almost hopelessly to understand the socio-political context, hopeless to understand life itself, white noir clouding rudimentary relationships and principles of existence, the anti-white narrative denying the love of themselves, the love of their people. I aspire to intercept them, as we all do, to spread the message of white well-being, the message that gifted me the ability to fall in love with our people, to which I am grateful without end. Know this, Jason Kuna. During all those years of service, when efforts were most consuming of you and least effective, all that time between going free and that first moment of purest love felt for your people, through all the experiences within and outside the cause, where you were becoming battle-hardened and your fortitude as a man tested, during periods of questioning, your conviction, and those strategies forming, strategies against the norm, the heroism to invent, correct, and stand by what works, what wins. During much of that, for many, an anti-whiteism better camouflaged, more challenging to point to, appearing weaker than it appears today. Anti-white numerical dissidence? From that storybook in kindergarten, from the days of Crucible through to early adulthood, the first attempts to formally advocate for our people, the pamphlets, the posters and cards, the cold doorway pitches, the lectures, the dreaming, the complaining, the lack of effective action, the absence of all-encompassing yet agile strategy, your willingness to try what was failing to advantage, organize, and protect, receiving all that could be gained from the honorable men before you, so many of them, not discounting hearts and contributions here. During lost time, lost opportunities, when friends and acquaintances were pursuing individual projects for success, when you were encouraged to not worry so much, focus on yourself, Jason, take care of yourself. When quitting was a bargain deal, when the military demanded treason of you, when politics were captured, when too few white sympathetics could be reached, many could not then enter into our story, could not escape entirely that narrative or white noir plaguing their vision, when they could not be pragmatic, could not be honorable, could not be centered with the love they have for our people, focused there, and when they could not work together as a team, could not be in it to win it, when they were of purest hearts and intentions, but could not be intelligently sacrificial, when favors went unreturned, when backup did not have you covered, when the hierarchies would not submit to hierarchy, when you were betrayed, when you went forward anyway, no matter what, to meetings of empty rooms, to meetings of a few, there to help them go free, putting up with who you could reach there and those who did not come to be reached, looking out for well-being with each opportunity, the passerby on the street, brothers at the gym, sisters at the register, elders in the pews, and boys on the pitch, to our young ladies in how you greeted them, and babies in how you nudged their parents. A dozen lives of service during a half-life of living. When some or all of that was your honor and burden, on the boldest of missions to free our people from the evil of this age, at the fork for our people's existence, everything we have been and will be, the fate of man himself, with a growing might and expanding impact, you marched on. The life of a Westman in love with his people, his well-being nearing one with them. Now, him seeing clearly their victimizer, and in weakness, feeling for their suffering, knowing their potential, perfecting their defense, spreading it. A movement directing its people from the cliffs of hell to infinity. The living story of a Westman, one of our men, one of our sons, a story in the cradle yet, the grandest cause for white well-being, a miracle in the making. Like the miracle of you, Jason, a miracle at the beginning, during Crucible, when Prometheus carried you, the spirit of the West, just a boy, a son of the West. He could not be broken, one with the Westmen of history, he who would not bow to anti-whiteism, he who would see it for what it is, he uniquely resistant to that demon and the sickness it was trying to plague him with. He says parenthetically, that thought literally makes me lose my breath, like being called out of formation to receive honors before thousands of uniformed Westmen, throat tightening and body weight barely held up into posture. You, a son of ours, so blessed to hear and follow the spirit of the West, uniquely wise, noble, and courageous. From way back then, in those first and darkest moments, since the very first victories, since no, not on my watch. The pathway to today was already being created, not certain, not accidental, but possible with each step. Back then, Jason, back then, we, the men and women of the West, were already on our way. Called to duty, called into formation, to serve alongside you, shield to shield, spears aligned, hearts aligned, calling on the rest of them, the next and the one after that, to join in this grand cause for white well-being, uniting our people for the perpetuity and glory of Western kind. Our angelic people, our beloved folk, more are arriving every day. The key players, characters, those Westmen, men, women, and children, marching toward the Western sunrise. A civilizational effort, Western kind set free from an invisible, cannibalistic demon, set free from anti-whiteism for all time, for the ages, lasting with the stars, honoring our ancestors, winning for our children, for their children, pleasing the gods, pleasing the Almighty Lord. Our people are eternally grateful and blessed. Promethean hails. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much for that. Thank you again. As I thanked you in email, that is beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's hear some. Let's give it up for white well-being. That is really beautifully written. Some 07s and 007s, quadruple 07s. How about some Promethean hails written in the live chat for this champion? New, as he said, he apologized to being late to the fight, and he is here to make a difference, and he's going nowhere. So God bless him. God bless you, brother. The spirit of the West is definitely strong for white well-being. Now tell me, did that sound better than the song I just read? Oh, the parallels that no white guilt brings to us. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Breitbart. Target to close 9 stores in 4 states, citing theft that threatens workers and shoppers. Target will close 9 stores in 4 states, including one in East Harlem, New York. I can't believe it. Why would that one get closed? And there in San Francisco. Really? San Francisco? No way. Saying that theft and organized retail crime have threatened the safety of its workers and customers. Do you think that'll be the end? Can you see a way the anti-whites might be able to, force such businesses to remain open? How could they do it? Maybe by way of taxpayer dollars. But for now, they're leaving. The closings, which will be effective October 21, also include 3 stores in Portland, Oregon, another place, Seattle as well. where you just say to yourself, how could that happen? Target said that it still will have a combined 150 stores open in the markets where the closures are taking place. What this should tell you, and if you don't know quite a lot of, or very little about economics, is that they have many more stores suffering than just these. So the suffering is great enough. Now, I'm not saying that they couldn't afford it. What they allocate for certain things, those are all in place. Those sums have to remain the same. So if those sums are threatened by economic challenges across the board, they will begin plucking stores out of those stores, or out of the equation, that are potentially in the red. I mean, I don't get to see the numbers, but I would imagine it's even possible with all the crime, organized crime, and etc. So this is happening, and keep this in mind. This is not only happening for Target. This is happening everywhere. This is happening across the United States, Canada, the rest of the West. But here we're seeing it most poignantly. These stores going out of business, shuttering their doors, moving on. That won't stop the criminals. They will travel to your nice areas to commit their crime. They will rob from you because you will be an easy target, most of you. They will come to the target in your nice, mostly lily white neighborhood. They will come to all of these areas. They're not going to stop because the system of justice is almost entirely white erased, largely white erased, however you want to put it. And they know that they won't suffer hellish consequences. So this has a domino effect in various ways for your neighborhood, for your shopping, for the general economy. As more people, for example, the domino effect of stores of this size shuttering are significant. What will replace them? Some of the invisible costs, government deciding to finance any business that's not owned by white people in these areas. Those will be your tax dollars going, just like your tax dollars are going to finance farms and places that make little hats and things like this in Ukraine. Your dollars will be going, as they do now, to violent areas to finance businesses who couldn't survive. They couldn't turn a profit. And so they rely on the tax dollars, your tax dollars, to survive. More and more of a burden on the tax-paying livestock. You then have this, and I don't think I can show it. Oops. We will see. No. Brutes savagely beat, rob man eating a pizza in daylight. Let's stop it. This is a video in Chicago. Chicago man enjoying a slice of pizza. Let's roll this back some. We're not going to show the actual physical attack. So here you see a couple of anti-whites. We don't fall into the trap of white negativity, blaming an entire race of people. What matters here is not the way they were born. What matters here is whether or not they're anti-white. White people have to learn this so that we can begin thinking about our individual well-being by way of our group's well-being. When you look here and you complain about the way they were born, you're being selfish individualist, because you believe that this is a problem to you. If it's not happening to you, then no big deal. We can't have that anymore. So you'll see the victim here. Here he is, at least perceived to be white, I don't know if he is. And here come the anti-whites. And you can find this video on the New York Post when we're done here. They beat the living shit out of him, and they take his backpack. Chicago man enjoying a slice of pizza was savagely beaten and robbed by two anti-whites in a brazen daylight attack caught on camera. A day before the House Judiciary Committee visited town to hear testimony about how soft on crime policies have turned the Windy City into an active war zone. So you have random these attacks on white people happening everywhere across Western civilization. They're being targeted everywhere they go. Women walking down the street. Women, we see these videos every single day. They could be on the subway. They could be standing at the door to their home, like that woman in, what was it, France? Was it Nice? And her daughter, older, probably grandmother and daughter, savagely attacked by an anti-white. This is happening everywhere across Western civilization. Why is that? What's the change? It is what I have always said would happen. Eventually, incrementally, anti-whiteism reaches a level where they can do more and more open violence against white people. And good non-white people, since there isn't a resistance against anti-whiteism itself, with the exception of us and what we're doing, good non-white people have no option but to remain silent so that they too are not attacked. Their race will protect them, whereas our race is the reason we are victimized. This is why everyone of all races have to come together with us to object to and oppose anti-whiteism. You're not going to be able to address these anti-white terroristic attacks without addressing anti-whites and anti-whiteism. You're not going to be able to address it as delinquent youths or the what do they call the internet culture. You're not going to be able to address it with any of they're not even band-aids. I remember people used to say, that's just a band-aid. That's not going to actually give them something. Make sure they have a basketball court. Make sure, folks, those aren't even band-aids. You are not addressed. That's like somebody coming in with a heart attack and you trim the nails on their feet and you're like, well, this at least will do some good. It does nothing. You have to address the evil that is behind all of this. All of this, the evil that is behind it is anti-whiteism. The stores closing, and all of those countless ramifications, domino effects on all those different levels I didn't even bother mentioning because we don't have enough time, that harm us and our civilization caused by anti-whiteism. Random attacks. Anti-whites see themselves a white person that they can victimize. It's not the bag. That's not what it is. It's not just, folks, look at what happened to us, what is happening to us and has been happening to us for a long time in South Africa. Every rape and ritualistic murder is a mugging gone bad, the government says. You have that today in the United. That was just a robbery. They just wanted to rob him. No, they just wanted to beat the living shit out of a white guy. And then you had this perquisite of, oh, I can also rob him. That's what it was about. And if you want to survive as a white person, then you have to look at it the right way for us to survive. You have to look at it the right way for us to recapture our destiny. I know there's this proclivity to try to look outside of us and our well-being and conclude erroneously that those answers are somehow truer. Well, they're not. That's how we've gotten to where we are today. So we also have this. Something else happening in Western civilization. Children going missing by record numbers. Record numbers of children going missing across Western civilization. I wonder what could be happening to them. I wonder what's happening to all these kids that are going missing. maybe they're just wandering off and they're becoming part of the Smurf colony, the little blue people from the cartoon. Maybe that's what it is. Just wandering off and they're finding a cartoon to live in, and that's why they don't come back. Western civilization, mores have been white erased. We've already mentioned law enforcement white erased. You can see what's taking place with these businesses and the terroristic attacks on white people as they go down the street. The normal functioning of businesses, the normal functioning of civility and law and order as one strolls down the street eating a pizza. These are features and fixtures of Western civilization. It's one, of course, of the many reasons that so many people around the world want to come to the Western civilization. What white people make. What we're seeing, since there's a war on white people and a war on what white people make, all of that's going away. And one of the most sickening that we can see is that Western kind has put a massive value on children, a premium on taking care of them, on being good to them, on extending their childhood for as long as possible so that they can live in a world of fantasy. And they don't have to, in that world of fantasy, they don't have to confront the odiousness and challenges of the real world. Western kind has done this. And you can look around the world and you see, I grew up with kids from all around the world, all different races all around the world. And in 0 cases, I came across people from other places around the world who put as much value on children. There weren't holidays. Like we turn entire holidays over just to children's joy because of the value it yields in the kind of adult that's produced. Because instinctually, that big investment in the children ensures and creates a civilized, what we refer to as a civilized society, Western civilization, Western culture. Every one of my friends from around the globe, every single one of them had stories that they shared about how children were treated in their countries. And then when I became an adult, I made a bit of a study of how children are treated and have been treated around the world in different cultures. And it's not good. It's not pretty. Maybe I'm wrong. You check it out for yourself. I'm sure there's some like weird tribe somewhere that where they parade them every day. They walk them around in chairs that they hold off like beers above their heads, and they never require them to use any of their muscles. They're so beloved. But my reading has been very different. White erasure is why we see titles like this. Stop everything and find them. More than 1,000 Ohio children reported missing in 2023, and it's not over. Ohio officials are deeply concerned as more than 1,000 children have been reported missing so far. Now, something I would point out here, this New York Post tweet, kind of interesting. Ohio, of course, is a very white state, and I doubt that, but I could be wrong, that the vast majority of children that are being abducted are non-white. So there was a calculated decision by the New York Post or whoever assembled these pictures, and my heart goes out to all of these families. It doesn't matter. I want all families of all races to rear happy children and have wonderful videos of them playing in the backyard with the puppy. And at the holidays, they're getting the gifts and everybody's laughing and smiling. I want nothing but wonderful memories for every group of people. And at the same time, I'm going to be able to point out that did they like go and cherry pick the non-white kids that are missing so that you end up with 2 white children in this field of 8? That since we live in anti-whiteism, that would be likely to happen. I want all of these children that you can see here and all the other ones that they're not showing us to be found of all races. But yet even here where you have our babies being abducted and they're not trotting off into Shangri-La, into some cartoon world, they're being taken for violence. They're being taken. I mean, the vast majority are not being abducted by wonderful parents who are going to take them off to a home in the Alps, and they're going to give them a luxurious life and wonderful education. They'll be playing the harp by the time they're 6. That's not what's happening. They're being sexually abused. They're being sold, and they're being handed from one adult man and woman to the next to be horrifically sexually tortured. How does that happen? Because of white erasure. The flourishing of the kind of people, and you'll see in a moment, Gavin Newsom in California, yielding more and more fertile soil for the kind of people that very often, when we research, we find a name and we research, they end up having records of pedophilia. It just so happens to be the case. Not every case, not every time, but very often. I remember that song where all of those guys got together and they sang about, what was it? We're wonderful or whatever because of our sexuality. And then people went through and it was like one after the other they found had records of having child porn and trying to pick up a child for sex and etc. It appears, and thank you to Carlisle getting me the news, that we have anti-white terrorism going on right now in Philadelphia. And if she can send me a link for a story, I will pull that up. And maybe if there is a link with a video, that would be great. Direct message me with that. Right now, riots, these anti-white terror attacks is what they are. These are not just random. These are not people just the looting or the rioting, etc. Those are secondary. Those are consequences of anti-white inspired individuals, anti-white terrorists attacking Western civilization. People always say, why do they attack their own neighborhood? Because it was made by the West, white people. Because the system it lives under, yet to some degree, to whatever degree that is Western, is white. That's why, you know where they don't destroy their own neighborhoods? Where they build them in other countries. That's where they don't destroy their whole own neighborhood. So I'll look for that DM because nothing came up for me initially. But we'll do this. We'll take a look at something else that's going on right now as a consequence of anti-whiteism. All the more important that we ourselves practice the Go Free method, that we use the strategies and the practices within there, the individual practices within there, to address our own infection with anti-whiteisms, meme pathogens, anti-white concepts that we've been infected with over the course of our lives, that you can no more forget and you can no more prevent from manipulating you just by consciously saying no, than you can say, I don't know how to drive a car anymore, or ride a skateboard, or ride a bicycle, or fly an airplane, or whatever you've been trained at to do. We have the way to address it. You have to address it within yourself so you can go free of these things, access more and more of your latent physical, mental, spiritual potential, and you can go then to the next level, bring it to those around you, and be the message yourself. This curative contagion that is working exactly as I said. I don't know how much, I know the everybody here who's a knight at the white table knows that what I've said about how it will work is exactly how it's working. But for those beyond, it's amazing. Like, what more evidence do they need? So look at this. Migrant crossings soar to record levels, testing Biden's border strategy, says CBS. Washington, the number of migrants apprehended by U.S. immigration agents after crossing the southern border illegally has soared in September, posing a major test to the Biden administration's migration strategy. Of course, all of this is written in a way to deflect you, to make you not worry, or not worry enough to want to do much more than to bitch about it. Border Patrol agents apprehended roughly 140,000 migrants who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without authorization during the first 20 days of September. We have days here where you have like 12,000 people coming across. And many of these videos we see of these people coming across, it is 99% males that are not old, that are not children, that are right in their prime, their physical prime. Now, of course, they know that they will make the trek to the United States. They'll just turn themselves over. They'll be given a court date, I read on one of these articles, of 10 years out. Meanwhile, every district they go to live in, every day they can go appeal to have their status changed from illegal to legal. And if you are Venezuelan now, Biden just did that for all of you. You all get to be illegal and have a work permit, and etc. And of course, you'll be allowed to vote in the upcoming presidential election, which, folks, every single one of these people coming across the border that ends up voting cancels your vote. I want you to really appreciate the gravity of that. What this government, this anti-white oligarchy is doing. They've just decided a new voting population. America is not anti-white enough yet, if you can believe it. So they'll bring in plenty more so that they can get the anti-white outcomes from the voting that they would like to achieve. Agency is on track to record more than 210,000 migrant apprehensions this month. Absolutely pouring in. So try to fit your mind around this. A militaristic invasion level of people, these border crossers. It's that many people. It's divisions. It's army divisions crossing the border into the United States of border crossers, people who are not soldiers, but it's a military invasions numbers. And you have the crime so bad that the business can't be conducted increasingly and has to flee, which means that it will bring with it the criminals that ran it out of the areas it fled from. And then there will be the domino effects across the economic spectrum that will affect business and is affecting business. You have children being abducted in record numbers, going missing, not because they found a cartoon to live in, but because they have found a hell that they are forced to live in. You have ordinary parts of town, what forever have even been considered for forever being our lifetimes, safe parts of town now, where anti-whites will just target you with impunity. Your white person will ruin your life, breaking things like eye orbits and cheekbones and skulls. You don't get better. You don't ever get back to where you were before because you're white. And on top of that, they'll steal from you as well. Do you see why I get so fed up with doom documenting? You see why I get so fed up with these doom grifters and the doom swappers, the people wanting to get together and just say, I know worse than you know? You see why I get so fed up with the historical revisionists and the tough talkers? And we could go on, and the Nazi LARPers. They've all been doing this the entire time that things have gotten this bad. Worse and worse by the day. The conservatives, they've been talking all along as it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse where we are today. And they'll still be talking and tying people up with their totally inept and illegal or whatever it might be ideas about how to remedy this situation as it gets worse and worse and worse, as more and greater levels of similar to militaristic invasions pour across the borders, as the economy crumbles and you lose your jobs and your neighborhoods become unsafe because the criminals follow the businesses to where you live. It'll just keep getting worse unless we are able to get to people with the work that we are doing here. How about wholesale anti-white terroristic rioting happening at this very moment? And look at how they word this. Mass looting and rioting. That's all it is. It's just some looters. Breaks out in Philadelphia after judge dismisses charge against cop who shot dead a man. Police activate citywide rapid response. Philadelphia's center. So the mob demanded blood. How much closer are we lurching to the point where the anti-white mob always gets the blood? I mean, it's very often now. This corrupt system of no longer law and order is now regularly, with these nodes of power held by anti-white operatives, endeavoring to achieve anti-white conclusions. How did this police officer not get executed for this? I don't know. I don't know the case. But all that matters is that the facts don't matter. The police officer, whatever race he is representing Western civilization in that uniform. And that's what the anti-whites are at war against. They're not at war. The system is not at war against Asian people or Arab people or Jewish people or black people. They're not taking all these different groups and saying, you got to fight each other. No, they're all saying, whether it's Harvard or CBS or the state house where you live or the federal government itself, they're all saying the white race is the problem. Attack the white race. Philadelphia's center city witnessed widespread looting and rioting, including an assault on a security guard at a Foot Locker store, as a large group ransacked multiple shops, including the Apple store. So you see how this is being written. It's being written in a way to make it seem like this is just petty theft and it's getting out of control. Always, this is how they couch it. You had in Chicago, where all of these anti-white non-whites pour out into the streets at the beginning of summer, and they decide they're going to beat, they're going to shoot, they're going to whatever, and they treated that like it was just kids misbehaving on a field trip from Mayberry. And they're going to have to, wag a finger at them. Police sought assistance while trailing the group, who were seen filling large plastic bags with stolen merchandise. The turmoil erupted following the dismissal of charges against a police officer who fatally shot an armed Latino man in a car. The unrest was orchestrated by the Party of Socialism and Liberation. Thank you very much, Carlisle, for sending this to me and for telling me about it. Now, don't fall into the trap of thinking that our problem here is the Party of Socialism and Liberation. That's not our problem. That's one of an infinite number of outcomes of anti-whiteism. I guarantee you, Tucker or the equivalent is going to be talking ad nauseum about the party of socialism and liberation as the cause. That's it. It's just them, sparking a citywide rapid response from police. These are not victimless crimes because the owners of these companies, Target, Apple, whatever, they're not going to eat the losses. Further news is that these anti-white, terroristic, militaristic mobs are going in large groups to the pharmacies and stealing all of the drugs. Listen to this, this sickening cackling, this cachinnation at the destruction of the West. That's what it is. I mean, they're like laughing. They're laughing like bloodthirsty. That's what that is. That's a bloodthirsty laughter over the destruction, the flames and blood of the West. This disorder, that's what you're seeing. That's what they love. That's what anti-whites love. Not the way she was born that matters. All that matters is the anti-whiteism. That is pure anti-whiteism is pure evil. This refusal to obey law enforcement. So this is currently happening. And here is Andy No making the mistake of just calling them BLM inspired looting. Broke out in downtown. It is not a condemnation to say that somebody is a looter or a rioter. That's no condemnation. Every anti-white cackles in delight when they hear about looting and thieving this way, rioting. They love it. That's not a condemnation. You have to condemn them for their anti-whiteism. All of this would be handled that fast if the focus were on the actual problem. If we averred that this is an attack on the West, that would be stopped real fast. And it wouldn't happen anymore. After a judge dismissed charges against a police officer who shot dead a Latino man in a car who was armed with a knife. And I just read in the news, what was it, a couple days ago, that in London, hundreds, could this be right? Hundreds of police officers turned in their licenses and firearms because one officer shot and killed some criminal or somebody he perceived to be or she perceived to be a criminal. They surrendered themselves at some point in the past, and things are getting so bad that they're asking for the military to come in They got rid of all their sidearms, and now they're asking for the military to come in to try to restore some semblance of order, of what we refer to as order. Remember, it's our understanding of what order is in the West. So if it's our understanding of what order is, then it will not be allowed to be accomplished for us, for the general white population, for the very basic, very salient reason that it comes from us, that this is what we have said is order in Western civilization. So there are suburbs around Philadelphia. This perfectly connects with the Target story. There are suburbs around Philadelphia where these businesses will move. Do you think these people in their Ford Taurus or whatever that is, do you think they're going to stay in Philly and just hang out there and be like, well, I got no white people to harm, no Western civilization to destroy? Do you think they're going to, or do you think they're going to drive their Fords out to those nice neighborhoods? So what kind of responses do we have to what is the government doing? What are the state governments doing? Well, they're doing this. California Governor Gavin Newsom signs package of pro-LGBTQ bills. This is the government's response. It's what the government, dominated by anti-whites, is up to in the United States and across the West. How can this guy, I'm just all those tough talkers all these years, I can't tell you how many tough talkers I've come across. And somehow people like Gavin Newsom can just like eat at public restaurants, and he can walk down the street, hang out with people, have almost no security detail possible to be seen. And not a single tough talker has even as much as yelled at him. Fascinating. He's busy though. California Governor Gavin Newsom, really a Democrat? I'm surprised. Signed a package of pro-LGBTQ legislation on Saturday, one day after voting a transgender custody bill. So, total focus on victimizing Western kind, Western civilization. No need to get into the weeds about what happens to children in these environments, what's happened in the past, all this kind of stuff that the cucks would want to look at. The Jared Taylors would want to break out data and say, let's look at some data here about this. All has been in place, articulated, advocated, promulgated, while things have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. This is the biggest IQ test ever for people to continue to support things that have failed for not just decades, but generations of our people. Generations. Assembly Bill 5, which sets, these are the big priorities. California sets deadlines for school employees to undergo LGBTQ related training. More anti-white behavioral training. Makes a minor's court petition to change their sex confidential. Requires public schools to have at least one sex neutral restroom. And that's, of course, for the kids. I mean, didn't we just have in the news, a girl that was raped by a girl that was born with a penis in the girl's bathroom? Was it? Maybe I'm wrong. Wasn't that just in the news recently? So I don't know. Maybe there are some who want to just have the neutral bathroom. They may probably want to just be seen going in and out of it. I don't know. Maybe. 857 requires the state to assemble a task force to identify the needs of LGBTQ students and implement policy. So you can be walking down the street in San Francisco, a white person. Anti-whites can see you, run up, and it's 11:11, and crack your skull open, knock a bunch of teeth out. Then your dentist will never be able to match it up again. You'll have a weird bite. The headaches from the cracked skull will never go away for the rest of your life. The horror of the moment of them stomping you in the ground, and all you can see is the bottom of their tennis shoes as they stomp you in the ground. The fact that you come to and you've pissed and shit yourself from the horror of it. That's what you wake up to as you're stuffed into the back of an ambulance. That's happening. We just saw that happen in Chicago. It's happening in San Francisco. It's happening in other cities in California. Stores are leaving, specifically San Francisco, to get away from the violent crime. So the economy is collapsing. Drug use is skyrocketing. Homelessness is skyrocketing. Psychotic people are on the streets, literally chasing people on videos that you can find all over the internet. And the government is making sure that if your minor petitions for sex change, it's confidential. And that all employees have to undergo this anti-white obedience training to LGBTQ norms, concepts, deferential positions for white people to take. That's what the government, but that's not all the government is up to there. No, of course not. The government in California is also busy at this exact same moment infringing your right to self-defense. Governor Gavin Newsom signs bill expanding bans on concealed carry for self-defense. State Senator Anthony Portantino sponsored the expanded bill contained in SB 2. He spoke prior to the signing saying, quote, "Do you need a gun to go to your daughter's soccer game?" Yeah, as a matter of fact, because if you're white and anti-whites see you there and they want to physically maim you for life, they want to assault you, maybe they want to just rape your daughter a little bit when you leave the soccer practice, you need to be able to defend yourself. But the government, the anti-white government in California, wants to make sure, and all the state governments and federal government are anti-white, but they want to make sure that you don't have the ability to defend yourself should that happen. Isn't that nice of them? I would say you need a water bottle and orange slices, says Portantino. So he wants to, the only people he can deprive, Newsom and Portantino, the only people they can deprive of carrying a firearm are law-abiding citizens. They can't deprive criminals of that. So the bill doesn't stop criminals from bringing a gun or sword or rock or their fists to a soccer game and using any or all of those things to maim or abduct your daughter, and then she's one of the ones that goes missing, of the record-setting numbers of children going missing. So they can't stop the criminals from carrying weapons. They can stop you, and they are stopping you. How is there a conversation with these people? How is there a conversation anymore? Why hasn't everybody started to go free? I'm serious. I've been around for decades pushing this. Jared Taylor and so many of these others can see lucidly how much worse things have gotten under their ideas, approaches, vehicles. Under their tenure, they can see how much worse everything has gotten. And they can see how much worse it will continue. There's only one community that has pushed back, changed anything, and it's us. I think this paints a really clear picture about where we find ourselves and what to think about those out there who still are of the mind to doom document, doom swap, doom grift. I don't know how. I mean, you can see from our once great countries like South Africa, Rhodesia, and then giant portions of the West today, that white people, if they're not freed from the disease of anti-whiteism, they're not exposed to these concepts from us, not from fucking NSM losers like happened in Australia the other day. Nobody, the actual anti-whites immediately over there associating, where they come out, they write anti-white with like a hyphen or whatever, and they immediately associate that with Adolf Hitler and etc. It needs real white men and women and good non-white people coming together and saying enough is enough, using the concepts we have here to maintain the moral high position, the moral high ground, and we need it in greater and greater numbers. Other like doom grifters out there, doom grifters will take a piece of news here, a piece of news there. They'll come to you. They'll say, look how bad it is. Look how unfair it is. Look how awful it is. Look at the data. Look at how much there's a double standard. Have a nice day. And people pay them big time for that. There's a special place in hell for doom grifters, I'm certain. They take their, in some cases, they believed that they were on a good and right track with what they were doing, honestly. And yet, with years of evidence, decades of evidence, you now have to be questioned whether or not you're still in good faith pursuing these angles, these approaches, these vehicles. But there are a brand new crop of doom grifters since the internet became robust enough that they know full well what they're doing. They know they're manipulating you and their audience into just giving them dollars, and they just jog in place. No intent whatsoever to ever do anything more than to bring you doom and to take credit for things they never did. Anything that happens good, they're ready to take credit for. Any bit of pushback, any chance of an anti-white, usually a Democrat, getting humiliated or looking dumb, and they're ready to take credit for it. We did it, guys. We did it. Nothing's being done. They're not doing anything. They just want the credit and the dollars. I'm going to take a look at what you all have to say. I would also like to say, especially if he's still here, send some positive energy and prayers to Papa J Magic for the shoulder surgery, very painful shoulder injuries. So it'll speed along and he can be right back at his best. Over the course of this roll-in gathering, you had the opportunity to financially gift on Entropy, on Odyssey, on D Live, on Subscribe Star, and on Cash App. And I'll be checking those in just a moment. And we'll see how you all are doing. Make sure you tag me as No White Guilt. And I'll be getting out of here shortly. Hello to everybody. Anybody? Is anybody over there on Rumble? Anybody? Yes. Looks like there are a couple people over there on Rumble. Hello to you. Tag me if you have anything you want to say. I don't know when these, I don't know if these were sent on Sunday, but I'll thank you again. Bored Troll, 2 lemons, and 1 ice cream cone. Thank you for those, whether they came today or Sunday, financial gifts. We also had Spartan financially gifting an ice cream cone of their cryptocurrency. Thank you for that, Spartan. Spartan writes, we need real leaders with face tats of Abrams tanks, F-16s, and F-35s on their forehead. Assault tats. That's funny. Well written. Over there on Odyssey. Hello to everybody on Odyssey. And looks like we have a couple financial gifts, beginning with $10.07 from Humongous. Thank you so much, Humongous. I really appreciate it. Salutations, he writes, to for white well-being. Well done and well said. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. I am here for you all. We are Team White Wellbeing. We need to come together so that we will do great things. Or, God, could you imagine? Everywhere in the West is going to be like where we see these, you know, the news you see seems like it's so far away. That'll be your neighborhood. There'll be no more place to white flight. No tough talking will stop it. No, well, then we'll get together. And then they'll drop a bomb on the building, on the community, or whatever it is. It'll be too late. You're not going to be able to fight the United States for Christ's sake. We have a financial gift of 5 library tokens over on Odyssey. Thank you so much. And this is from Who to Thunk It. Only after they've promoted anti-whiteism institutionally, they start disarming the victims. Precisely. Very well said. That's exactly what they do. Anti-whiteism used to, and I find it so funny from conservatives. They'll be like, liberals have lost their way. They've lost their principles. They used to be for free speech, and they used to be for the rights of firearms. You know, it sounds so dumb, doesn't it? The rights of firearm rights. No, they were never for those things. Those were expediencies to get to anti-white conclusions. They wanted to be able to speak about anti-whiteism, to propagandize, to manipulate, for their psychological warfare to take effect. They needed to be able to have the right to self-defense so that they could fight back against local law enforcement, etc. White people who might decide enough of this. As soon as they had power, their real colors, the truth of their mission is revealed for all to see. They're like a morbidly obese person naked under a cape who suddenly just goes, there it is for all to see. And somehow the conservatives don't see it. But I think many of the brightest ones, they do know. They just prefer to play stupid because it's beneficial on their bottom line. I mean, they live in nice houses. They take lots of vacations. So that's selfish individualism. As soon as the anti-whites have power, then they say, no speech for you. I mean, seriously, how can you be? This is where I would like to have a debate with that Carl Benjamin, who would never talk to me. I'd like to, how can you be, at least this used to be as a position, I don't know if it still is. How can you be for free speech for everyone still when they take free speech away as soon as they have the power to do so? You're not dealing with people who play by the rules of Western civilization. Not only do you have to not give them what they wouldn't give you, but you need to cut their tongues out. Of course, I'm kidding. I just like to show the knife. Who'da thunk it also financially gifted 5 more library tokens over there on Odyssey. And he writes, the doom grifters are all about the ideas. They dehumanize our people by withholding moralized language about our victimization. God bless you, man. Who'da thunk it? That's a brilliantly written comment. Perfectly said. We get the brightest people here by far. By far. Okay, over on Entropy, I will check the dashboard because sometimes malfunctions and the regular player doesn't show me. It's blank, so I just want to make sure. Okay, we didn't miss anybody there. Let me swivel around here, and I'm going to see what y'all are saying in the YouTube live chat in just a moment. A cozy roll-in that we are wont to have. Okay, subscribe star, blank. All right, we have the one and only First Last financially gifting on Cash App $5. Thank you so much, good sir. And we also have, folks, celebrate the king. King Clips has arrived. I played that audio. If you didn't know, that was Clips. At the very beginning of this, when we're all done, go back and watch it. If you didn't watch it, he called into a radio station and did a beyond epic job, better than I could have done with that Kuna report. So check that out. And later in this roll-in, he has financially gifted 107 saluting dollars. God bless you, man. Working class. My God, what a true champion. What a true champion. We love Clips. Let's raucous emojis. Get gems for his feet. Quadruple 07s. Please celebrate this guy. If you want the news we were talking about, if you want to push back against that, it's people like Clips that you have to celebrate. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much. Nothing can stop this guy. It's amazing. All right, let me see what y'all are saying over here as we hit the seconds from the 3-hour mark. Sloth says, NWG Clips, you are absolute beast of a champion. It's insane, isn't it? Oh, Lockie puts a diamonds or gems for his and then a little foot emoji. That is hilarious. Well done. Johnny Johnson says, this is the 200 IQ response to anti-whiteism. Is there a 1,000 IQ response somewhere? Maybe Elon Musk can make us an AI anti-whiteism eliminator machine. I don't know, but I'll be open to having a conversation with him. That would be great. Be great if he decided to king make me or anyone, Clips, for example, or several of us. Wouldn't that be something? Instead of king making bloviators. Let me give my opinion. like the 10 trillion other people who have given their opinions on things that are bad, that are naughty. It's so naughty. I'm just going to give my opinion on how naughty it is. Great. Thanks. How about somebody doing something? How about a group of people who are actually making a difference in the world, who are actually changing things? What about them? King make them, buddy. Blonde Ambition is here. Hello to you. Cindy Ben, hello. Robert, hello and welcome. Walker Humphrey. That's a really cool name. So far, this community is the best in town. We are the 200. No, we're the 201 IQ response, because anti-whiteism is the 200 IQ level of manipulation, psychological warfare. So our response had to be at least 1 IQ point higher. So we're the 201 IQ response to our victimization. But Johnny Johnson writes on, I'm sending out a challenge question. Is there a 300 IQ response? Just a thought, ideas. I don't know. But if anybody's going to figure it out, it'll be this community. I can tell you that. Just made a post on X about the anti-white terror in Philly. Would love to have all the people breaking the news on X to be doing so in a white positive manner before it trends. Please retweet, writes Lockie Lunder. Let's do that. Let's retweet. Action item. Lockie Lunder. Let's make sure it moves. And I'll give you all the update that I have on Twitter as well. And I will let you all know that I am back later this week on Thursday night with Jill Colton. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be here on a roll-in going free for an hour. And we're going to talk about something. I don't know, but we'll talk about it. Lockie writes, right now, anti-white terror troops use the dismissal of charges against a cop as an excuse to victimize white people, Western civilization, and our morals. These aren't disadvantaged youths. These are anti-white terrorists. Perfectly written, brother. I just retweeted you. Everybody can find that retweet on my Twitter. And let's swash this to the moon. Swash it, baby. Swash it hardcore. Swash it. Swash it good. That sounds like that was from a song like back in the 80s, wasn't it? They didn't say swash, though. What did they say? Whip it. That's what it was. But we say swash it. Swash it. Swash it good. Patrick Cash is with us. Hello, brother. And he writes, did you see where the Pope said Europe needs to take more immigrants? He said it again. I mean, he's said that more than a few times, right? He also just condemned Poland, because Poland has pulled out of arming Ukraine. Now, am I in this community going to get credit for the predictions at the very beginning of that conflict that are now coming to fruition? Nah, we won't. Nobody outside of this community, they're so jealous. It's selfish individualism drives that jealousy. And then they want to J-Spurg and criticize Jews all the time. And they operate in a far more moral way, in a far more effective way. Not all of them, but some of them, when one of their community does something good that benefits the community. They all show up to support of that percentage of the total number of Jewish people. And the other races do it as well. White people, Jason gets out there and it's like they can be supportive if it's falls short of what they're doing. They can pat you on the back. But if it does more than what those selfish individualists are doing, suddenly they're no longer supportive. That's selfish individualism. So Poland has concluded, and I mean, we've been reading this, and the prediction from the very beginning was that if the United States and other anti-white oligarchs in UK, etc., did not decide to use the Ukrainian population to inflict injury on the anti-white oligarchs in Russia, that the war would be over swiftly, and Russia wouldn't even need to pull up more troops. But the anti-white oligarchs in America and Germany and Poland and France, etc., they all got to work immediately. And the most valuable thing that they could provide was intelligence, satellites saying where the Russians were, where they were going, what they had, what state they were in, what state the supply lines were in. All of that is infinitely valuable, and it's also an act of war. But then, of course, more came. And I said at the very beginning, if they do this, and maybe you all remember that on PWR, we had a guest on that specialized, I can't remember what his name was, specialized in the conflict. He was talking all about the conflict. He knew everything about the conflict. And I asked a question that he realized was a very interesting question he had not thought about. That at that time, at least, that the anti-white oligarchs and the states and the rest would fight to the very last Ukrainian that they could get to fight, to harm Russia. It was never about Ukraine and the Ukrainian people and their happiness. So the anti-white oligarchs armed them with weapons. They armed them with intelligence. What else did they do? And only now is really becoming so apparent, because the inability to, because I don't know if you remember what I said to that guy. I said, isn't it possible that these anti-white oligarchs, they don't see a victory of taking back the Ukraine in any way other than a continuing endless conflict that so injures Russia that they can't take it anymore and they just have to pull back. So years and years of conflict. So ultimately a conflict of just dollars. And then how many lives it can buy. What's one of the things you have to do for people to get them to continue fighting? Because you can destroy a country can lose its willingness to fight very easily. So if you want to get a country and people to fight to the smallest possible number before they finally say uncle, and it won't matter how much you give in order or whatever, and they just won't fight anymore, you have to give them the dollars for their economy to flow, so that their economy looks nice, so that there are businesses operating, so that people are happy. That's what they're talking about finally now. They're like, oh yeah, they're subsidizing all of these businesses we saw on the news. They're subsidizing their farms. The entire, and this is just my opinion, Ukrainian economy is being subsidized by American tax dollars at a time when we went from Donald Trump and his 1.4% inflation to almost 4% inflation. At a time when automobiles are going to become too expensive to purchase, houses too expensive to purchase, border wide open, people pouring in, and the anti-white oligarchs care more about harming the anti-white oligarchs, a war of attrition in Russia, than of the United States, than of France, than of Germany. Remember everybody getting, people dying of the cold in these countries because they didn't have the gas? People burning their belongings so they could have warmth in their homes in Europe last winter? Does anybody forget that? So I said to this guy, isn't this just like a war of attrition that the anti-white oligarchs in America and the rest know that they can win against the anti-white oligarchs in Russia? Except they're not winning it, because the Ukraine is running out of people. No matter how much they pump up that economy, the bakeries and things like this I saw on the news, no matter how much they pump it up, you're still losing the desire, the esprit de corps, the morale to continue fighting. And so what do they do now? We see from these establishment organs that are kind of the the mood setters across the West, they're beginning to say things like the Ukrainian generals are not listening to us. Bullshit. Bullshit, they're not listening. That's just an excuse. They're beginning to pad their way out of Ukraine because it's simply not working. Look at how many people have had to die. How many white men on both sides of this conflict. Absolutely despicable. 100% despicable. It was always a sad thing for Ukraine to be conquered by Russia, for Ukrainians who were nationalistic and they wanted to be different and they whatever. That was always a sad thing. But at least they would have been alive. I guarantee you, there are grieving mothers and wives and sons and daughters that would any day, far more likely, give up that Ukrainian independence for their dad or brother back. So the Pope, he's saying more white erasure. That's what the Pope said, Patrick. That's how we talk about it here. The Pope said more white erasure in Europe. It's not enough white erasure yet. They need more white erasure in Europe. Whatever you do, brother, don't say great replacement. Whatever you do. I don't know if you already know why, but don't say it. It's white erasure. And there are these, and that then makes you wonder, what are these so-called trad Catholic movements where you have these doom grifters at the top of them, making themselves a millionaire, and others out there making themselves a lot of money off being trad Catholic resistance and whatever. Their pontiff, the person through whom God speaks, if you're a Catholic, is as anti-white as the day is long. Now, you might be a wonderful trad Catholic person and say, well, this is all Bravo Sierra. I'm not for it. I'm against it. But the vast majority of Catholics are not going to heed you. They're going to heed the pontiff. So why do you good Catholic people out there keep giving money to a millionaire just to continue to doom grift off of you all? Why do you keep giving money to this guy? Just because he says he's Catholic? No, there's not going to be any Catholic uprising. Triple Five says, bravo, Jason. Jason is the only one taking on the NSBS. Salute. I'll salute you, brother. Franklin, the great Franklin, says, I heard that Ameren didn't have that many people in attendance this year. Is that right? Did anybody else? I see American Gantry is here. Hello and welcome. Did anybody else hear this about the Ameren conference? That it had a reduced attendance? I mean, I really, really liked Jared Taylor over the years. And when he revealed what in his heart, when Trump became president and things were going good, and he revealed what was in his heart about what he thought that he was doing with American Renaissance, I didn't say a word. I didn't tell anybody. And I hope that nobody caught it. He said it so many times. And I was like, God, please stop saying that. What did he say? Up until all the enthusiasm around Trump, which is why we support Trump and vote for Trump, because of the enthusiasm he stirs in the population. Up until that point, he said in reflection that he thought for all of those years, he was just recording the loss. Just putting into the books how and why, so that later generations would be able to look and see how everything fell. Well, we're not doing that here. We're not preparing some cemetery, some some museum document for people to look at and say, oh, so that's how they all died off. We are invested in recapturing our destiny, and we are the only people having success. That's no brag, just fact. But I have to say, even in the midst of the folks who are, they're not being as they should be relative to us. It's still to be able to be with you all, during Camp of the Saints. I mean, I see articles all the time now referencing Camp of the Saints in real time. Camp of the Saints, written by a Frenchman about the end of Western civilization and barges. You don't bother reading it. Jean Raspel, or however you pronounce his French last name, barges and all kinds manner of ships are hijacked for the purpose of bringing a giant chunk of the population of India to Europe. And they beach themselves and they get out and swim and a ton drown and there are bodies everywhere, but millions and millions and millions and millions show up. And the protagonist character prepares himself for his final fight to the end of Western civilization. No hope of reclaiming our destiny. Just like this like fevered fantasy of you finally get to shoot some of these people, but then you die and they eat you alive. And they're showing these videos of people pouring across 12,000, 11,000 in a day and etc. here in the US. They're showing them pour into Europe, pouring into a little island in Italy where there are, I think I read, unless I'm wrong, more border crossers than residents in that town. Franklin says here that Joel Davis is a jealous me-not. He wants the harm to continue. Yeah, he said, we saw the video of Joel, and I tried to celebrate him. No response to me. None. I had actually heard before he came on, and I was very polite to him, before he came on PWR for the first time, that he had said to others very negative things about me. And he came on, I was very polite, very respectful to him. I didn't hold it against him, as I had not held these things against people in the white sympathetic sphere for decades. And he didn't reciprocate. Then he goes on his own show with that other guy, Blair, and he's talking about he got this idea, and he's using the lexicon. He just recently got this idea, and we celebrated him on Twitter. Nothing in response. Thank God I was never a Jay Spurger or a doom grifter before discovering white well-being and no white guilt. I was just living in white noir before, says Jay Bishop. Alex is here. Ravens in Flies is here. Hello and welcome. Well, there's Carlisle. She is here. Hello, young lady. How are you feeling? If you respond, you better tag me. There's First Last. Hello, brother. Bonds Core. Hello and welcome. Sam, hello. Nero asking the plebeians in the Colosseum If the gladiator should live or die, wrote Silver Mage. Doesn't help. How does it? These are real people too. Arrogance is a hell of a drug, wrote Finger Fretter. Widukind of Saxony. I really miss the after party. Any chance of possibly bringing it back? Yeah, there's a chance of it. I don't see, regrettably, Mr. George coming back to host it with me because he was definitely, he got too fed up with all of the J spurging and the Nazi LARPing. He brought to me brought my attention to quite a number of these people who were, we were hoping would be headed in the white positive direction. And then there was a pairing of a guy and a girl, and everything changed. And they really went off the rails. And Jared George was like, nah, this is not me. It's not my nature. It's not my spirit. And that was that. I have some relatives who live close to where they settled these refugees. They live on welfare, but drive cars more expensive than my house. Yeah. Oh, I see that all the time, man. Yep. Yeah, and where was it? Oh, yeah, it's in the UK as well, where there was one of the places where there were too many border crossers for the availability of homes and rooms at hotels and this sort of thing. And the government just went out and like got them all homes somewhere. And they're like, oh, problem solved. We just bought all their home. What does that do to the housing costs? What does that do to the social contract that the citizens have with the government? The governments of the West are waging war on the founding stock of the West because these governments are anti-white. Al Hengel is here, or AI. Yeah, I guess that's a capital I. Is saying good night to Sinkoi, I guess that was. Great Sloth says, you cracked the code of selfish individualism. Thank you, brother. Yeah, we have to extirpate that selfish individualism, tear it up by the roots. And then maybe a lot of those people don't get to continue to be part of the population. We don't want those genetics anymore. Promethean Healing is here. Great to see you, brother. And he came in with the lyric from the song, which was Whip It. And it was Devo, says Red Dog. Band, I guess, called Devo. But we got Swash It good. How did it go? No, that's not the... I think I'm confusing two songs from back then. Oh, no, it had a crazy video, didn't it? Guys with like these weird plastic hats. Is that right? Crack that whip. Do. That was it. When the something comes along, you can whip it. Whittakind says, you mean you got too annoyed about the Jaysbergs? Yeah. Just the incessant folks showing up to want to blame everything on all Jews, not just anti-white Jews. That was the big thing that really divided, was that I oppose all anti-whites, anti-white Jews, anti-white blacks, anti-white white people. I don't care. They're anti-white. They're the bad guy. They have this thing about all Jews. And then they still will say, oh, but not that one or not that one. But some of them don't say that. Some of them are just like, yes, all of them. Ursa Major is here. Hello. So it was them, and it was also the Nazi LARPers. Like, we found, I got so pissed off because when I was playing a lot of different music from a lot of these people, and we were really encouraging, it was going good. We were really influencing artists, and you can see the artists that remained are the ones that are actual men of the West. But we were influencing them positively. And I made crystal clear that if I'm going to play something that you create on my channel, it can't have not even a scintilla of reference to Nazis or to fascists or to the 25 points or to any of this stuff. None of it. Every one of them said, okay, you have my word. And then we found stuff hidden in their videos. Unbelievable. Not even right away. And Jared George was like, Jesus. I mean, you can't like be more lucid, more direct with what we will have and what we won't have. And these are supposed to be people who were like, they're like, have this, they talk about like some kind of Aryan ideal. And this is, and they have, and then later, you know, they have all these like photographs. They're all black and white, of course, of like these upstanding German citizens serving their government at different periods in history. And that's like supposedly their representation. But they're the least honorable people that you will ever meet. You know, they're all just back there like, oh yeah, I told him we're not going to put anything in there. But look here, at this minute and this second. Really cute. So, and Jared George, very talented guy. But, you know, we have a lot of people who, you know, they have sensitive hearts and they have sensitive soul, and they certainly haven't run into people like that before. And then they come into contact with them and they're like, I can't take it. So I don't blame the guy for not being able to take it. I obviously would have had him respond differently, but you can't blame him for just being really fed up with it. Do. Correct that whip. I imagine there's many relationships ended by those near no white guilt, thinking he'll change in perfidy or negativity or positivity, but look at all the time he stayed the same. Yeah, exactly. Well said. Devo, Wing of Production is with us. Thank you, brother. Devo. Yeah, the government pays way above market rate rent for these people. But if you rent your place out, you can never get them out again. Well, precisely. And then what does that do for the cost of rent for the white people who have to work for a living and pay their taxes, and drives it up? All right. Sloth says, first, last requested you play my song. Then we will play your song. And first, last says, that Sloth's reminded me. That first, last reminded me or asked me to play this song. I fully understand these bastards don't care about any of us losing our job because of their immoral actions. I will first, last. That was by Wittgenstein of Saxony. No, they don't. They're all subversives. They're ultimately anti-white subversives. And that was one of the things that Jared was, told me in private when he left, was just like, it doesn't matter whether they are like open, hardcore anti-whites. The outcome is the same. It's an anti-white outcome. They undermine. And that's what I would, as you saw me get so angry, and then you saw their confusion about like, why does Jason get so angry? Just because we run off all the good, talented, moral people with wealth, people with connections, people with abilities, people with power. Why would he get mad that we run all them off? Really? Really? Why would I be mad because of that? All right. Well, we will play Sloth's song on the way out. And we will check one more time the financial gifts, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going to get out of here. Out of here, because after midnight, we going to let it all hang out. I'm coming for you, Bubba Brown. Buddy Brown. I'm coming for you, Buddy Brown. We're going to have to review Buddy's, one of his latest songs. After he got, he got a thrill. It got tingling up his leg when Oliver Anthony came out with Richmond, North of Richmond. He decided he was going to try to, probably contribute to that energy engendered. And we'll review that song. That's a fun one. God, it hurts to hear that about Jared. He's intelligent enough. Yeah. Finger Fretter writes. Yeah. Yep. Really, really good guy. When he and I went to that hotel, and y'all remember that story, where I don't even know if I'm going to remember it right after so little sleep, and it being after midnight. But yeah, we were going into the hotel, and we had like all my gear. We had like the big light, all the computers. We had all the gear. And it looked like, a film crew gear, even though we didn't have any cameras. We just use a basic webcam. We don't have like the big expensive cameras. No need to see that anyhow. No need to like see into my pores. What would be the use of that? I can zoom right into Jason's pores. I'm sure there'll be like this theory now that it's like, I don't have that because in one's pores, you can see how Jewish they are or how much of a Fed they are. But we were going in, and there was a guy that messed with us something fierce. And Jared George, it was so palpable how uncomfortable it got as we were going in, because the guy's like, "Hey fellas, gonna make a movie?" Oh my God, that was funny. Jared's like, "No, wait, we're not making a movie." And then, as fate would have it, when we were packing up to leave, and we came out of our room, we were coming out. Our door was within visual of the elevator, so I came out and I had all these things, and Jared was coming out, just getting ready to close the door, and here comes this guy. And he's like, he had already pressed the button. He's like, "You want me to hold the elevator for you too?" And Jared said, "I'm going back into the room." I think I might have forgot something. I was like, "No, man, it's all right. Go ahead, man. You can go by yourself." Making some movies, fellas. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. Yeah, Slot saying Lizard Jason hiding the pores. First Last said poor, P-O-R Jason. Poor Jason. That was so funny. Making some movie. I mean, it was like right out of a movie scene. It was so funny. You guys making some movies? I wish I hadn't been so preoccupied with like, do I have everything? Did I bring everything? And then how am I going to put this together up in the room? All that was going through my head. And because if I wasn't, then I might have had something to say that would have made Jared probably a lot more uncomfortable. But that would have been funny. We did laugh though. We got up in the room and I started joking with him. I said, "What do you say we invite this guy into the room and have him sit right between us on that little couch?" Oh God, that was funny. Klomp is here. Great to see you, brother. Red Dog saying, "This is my first time to ever hear that story." Yeah, Mr. George and I met up, and it was on a out of the set, if you will, after party. And of course, Jared George had always appeared on the screen with me from his remote location, which was for a time people thought directly below me. And anyhow, so I started talking. I was like, "I'm going to bring Jared on now." And then Jared came and sat down right beside me. That episode is still on, you can still find it on the channel. But yeah, the backstory to that was the guy. Jared was like, he suddenly had something to find in that room real fast. He's like, no, I got something to look for. I think I might have left something behind. Shot right back in the room. You can't blame him. I mean, could you imagine getting in the elevator with that guy? It would have been like, how did that's what he already said when he said, that's what he opened with. Something like, "How did the video go? You want me to hold the elevator for you?" That's so funny. All right. Promethean Healing says, "You're a rock, man. A diamond like all of our Promethean champions." Thank you, brother. And thank you for phrasing it that way. All of our Promethean champions are diamonds in the rough, diamonds on the field of life. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Lockie says, "After seeing how folks talk on 4chan, I reflected upon a time I genuinely believed what they said. Unironically, you, Jason, and this community are the real de-radicalizers. Thanks. I appreciate it, man." And First Last saying, "We love you, Jason." Well, much love back, brother. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was one of the criticisms they used to give me, that I'm a de-radicalizer. Yeah, I want to kind of keep people out of prison and in their relationships with their families and the new relationships they make, and seen as leaders in their communities and effective for white well-being. All right. White well-being. That's right. All right. Then let's take a quick look around. We will refresh to make sure we didn't miss anyone. First, last, we read off the $5 financial gift that you sent a little earlier. I don't know if you missed that. If you've sent anything else, it's not showing up, but I'll check on my phone just to be sure, in case you did hear me say that. But we thank you very much. I thank you again, my good brother. If you are, is this going to work? Yeah, here we go, finally. Okay. Oh, he says he missed it, or he didn't miss it. Or he's saying, I didn't, when I said, or did you hear it? So very good. We didn't miss anything there. Or on Subscribe Star. Oh, Elaine was here. Oh, good night, Elaine Sabatino. We made some changes. We're sort of starting over, if you will. If you are in several of our groups, on Telegram, the outreach team, and the Promethean chat, we made some changes there, and to kind of like reset. It's just like a reset. And then things are going to continue, and it's going to be even better. We're going to be more effective, and we're going to be more focused. No doom swapping. We're going to be more focused on bringing the lexicon and dialectics to the world, so that, God forbid, none of us have to end up living in those environments. You're not going to have any place to go for like your old age. And what are you going to do if this continues? I mean, could you imagine being one of these good people that consider themselves a trad Catholic, and they're just giving shit tons of their money to a doom grifter, and they're going to end up getting old and going into an old folks home where that's staffed by anti-whites in a county or state or region or whatever it might be, province, parish, that's anti-white. The government's anti-white. The nodes of power are held majority by anti-whites. They're not going to care if you're getting beat and raped, sodomized, whatever it is. You're going to have to live with that. And you're also end up living in these environments. And before getting there, knowing your loved ones are in those environments. I mean, it's awful. Oh, there's Elaine. Sorry, I have to run because I'm about to lose reception. Looking forward to the rest of your hot takes. All of my takes are hot because I'm delivering them, sister. Thank you for that. Mestizo says, so many honeypot users on 4chan. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you for piping in about that. People need to know that. Helios Abbott says, did you catch that second $10 set? Yes, we did. We read that, didn't we? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe we didn't. Yeah, that was the first one we read over there. No, wait. There is a second one. So there are two financial gifts. So that goes beyond the $20 minimum for celebrating, my friends. Let's get out some raucous emojis for humongous. God bless you, brother. Two $10.07. So that's the salute. $10 with a salute. financial gifts over there on Odyssey. Thank you so much. The first one says to put an end to the erroneous conclusions and for Team White Wellbeing. And the second one says salutations for White Wellbeing. Well done and well said. Thank you so much. And thank you for catching that I didn't see that. Thank you so much, brother. Big salutes over there on Odyssey. We got a few watching over there, and they're all glorious. Nobody said anything on Rumble and D Live. No, didn't miss anything, so that's good. All right. Good, thank you. I'd have been kicking myself if I missed your financial gift, so thank you, brother. Helios, but we need to do like the old Kung Fu theater movies where when we get the salute, it makes that like rippling sound of fabric going through the air. Whatever it is. Okay, so you can look for us on Thursday evening, I think at 8:45 Eastern time. I will be back for a roll-in, hour-long roll-in with Jill Colton. And, you know, she's wonderful. She was a TV presenter in Canada, and now she's living a much better life somewhere in the world. I don't know. I think it's in the States. And let me make sure that we're okay over here. Okay, good. Yes. All right. Somewhere in the States. It's going to be a coruscating conversation. But look for me then with Jill. And then, of course, on Sunday for our regular Going Free gathering. And we will roll out here listening to the one and only Slots' new song he made 2 or 3 years ago. But it's new to us, and it's fantastic. So big salutes to Slots, and much love. And we will roll out and see you on Thursday. I want you all... I'm going to try to stay calm. I want you all to think about the torture that our babies are being subjected to by these anti-white bastards. That you have a little white girl who so hates herself. And ladies and gentlemen, if you hate your people, if you hate your people's history, you cannot but hate yourself. That is what the anti-whites are doing to us. You have a little white girl that she turns to her mother and asks her mother, begs her mother, am I going to have to be white until I die? Unpack that, ladies and gentlemen. What is that little girl saying? Am I always going to have to be a member of the race that owes and has to compensate and make amends and feel guilt and feel guilt? That is what's coming through this little girl's voice. God damn it, when will enough be enough for you? How much longer, mommy? How much longer do I have to be white? She is articulating what they all are feeling in silence, in their nightmares, in their beds, in their tears when no one else sees them cry. God damn, when is enough gonna be enough? How much torture is enough torture for our babies? When will you say enough is enough? Only a sick and broken and defective human being doesn't get angry as all hell when the vulnerable members of their community are being victimized. It is ameliorated when all the anti-whites get on a knee and beg for forgiveness. That is when we begin to think about, okay, things are finally going in the right direction. Not until then. We want to see their apologies. We want to see them prostrate on the ground,
begging for forgiveness. Every single anti-white, you are going to join the sphere of white well-being. You are going to come to the heroes because you are going to hear the silver trumpets of the work we do here for white well-being. You are going to hear that clarion song, and not another one is going to look to mommy in fear and dread and hate. God damn it, when will enough be enough for you? Children! She is articulating what they all are feeling in silence when no one else sees them cry. How much torture is enough torture for our baby? When will you say enough is enough? How much longer, mommy? How much longer do I have to be white? Your whole life, little girl. Your whole life. She's gonna look to her mother and say, Mother, please tell me that all of my days are going to be filled with the beauty and the justice and the glory of being a wonderful white woman that produces a wonderful white family and a glorious future. That will be the white babies that we will make, and that will recapture our destiny.